Chapter 311. Do not recognize each other. Naturally, I created this technique myself, Lao Ganma said vigilantly. Qin Hao's gaze made her feel extremely uncomfortable. She was a descendant of the new moon, a citizen of Daqin who had drifted outside. It was absolutely impossible for her to tell the ins and outs of the pancake technique to unrelated people. She's currently taking refuge. If she was slightly careless, the enemy who caused his honor's death 600 years ago would be enough to exterminate her entire new moon sect. Qin Hao's oppressive gaze even caused hostility to arise in her. As he spoke, the surrounding temperature began to drop rapidly. Haha, self-created? The way you mix the ingredients is really ingenious. It's at the peak of perfection, Qin Hao said indifferently. Obviously, Lao Ganma's answer was not true. It doesn't matter if it's self-created or inherited. Since the pancakes are so delicious, let's buy a few more and have supper at night. Yi Shuihan quickly stood between the two of them to ease the tense atmosphere. Lao Godmother's strength was unfathomable, and Qin Hao was definitely not her opponent. Yi Shuihan was even more afraid that Qin Hao would be like the disciple just now, turning into a star in the sky and swinging a spoon thousands of miles away. All right, then I'll make a few more for you. Although Qin Hao made Lao Ganma hostile, she couldn't refuse her son's request. He spread out a few more pancakes, using the same method as before. Qin Hao crossed his arms and chuckled. You actually don't want to admit that you learned how to make pancakes? However, he was not prepared to expose the other party. Qin Hao currently did not have enough ability to prove his identity. After all, he had been reborn. Who would believe it? If this news reached the ears of Zhang Wu and Han Lingxian, it would be enough to consign Qin Hao to eternal damnation. Currently, he had no ability to protect himself in front of the enemy. It was the same for Lao Ganma. After the New Moon Gate escaped from Daqin, they were separated from the descendants of the other three gates. They hid in the trashy Luo Shui Empire and lived in fear every day. Although she did not have Xianyu's blood flowing in her veins, and Xianyu had never married in her entire life. However, she had inherited Xianyu's alchemy skills. This alchemy technique was passed down from 600 years ago. Before Lord New Moon left, he left behind a message that he firmly believed that His Holiness Qin Hao was not dead. He wanted the New Moon sect to stay in the Luo Shui Empire and secretly cultivate their forces while waiting for His Holiness to return. As long as His Excellency returns, he will immediately launch a counterattack against the Sunset Battle God and Empress Ling Xian and take back Daqin. Since this matter was related to his honor's revenge, even if Lao Ganma died, she wouldn't divulge the slightest bit of the secret, let alone admit that she was Xianyu's disciple. Therefore, Qin Hao and Lao Ganma were also on high alert. All right, here are the pancakes. After making 4 pancakes, Lao Ganma packed them up and gave them to Yi Shuihan. Here's the money. Qin Hao took out 18 mysterious crystals and handed them to Old Godmother. There were 6 pancakes in total. There's no need. Lao Ganma shook her head. This is your first time eating pancakes. I don't know if it suits your taste. It's free this time. Consider it as a recurring customer. She made pancakes for her son. How could she ask for money? She couldn't wait to be happy. Then I'm a little embarrassed. Ha ha. Yi Shuihan laughed lasciviously. As he spoke, he looked at the other disciples proudly. How about it? Are you dissatisfied? You can only blame yourselves for not being surnamed Yi. Therefore, being surnamed Yi is a good fortune. Creak. The surrounding disciples clenched their fists. They were indeed dissatisfied, very dissatisfied. Not only did Qin Hao and Yi Shuihan cut in line, but Lao Ganma also gave them free eggs. Now, they didn't even want the money for the pancakes. They were all disciples, but why was the gap between them so big? Oh, also, how can you only eat pancakes and not drink porridge? What if you choke? Come. I'll get 2 more servings of 8 treasure porridge for you. It's also free. As she spoke, Lao Ganma scooped 2 servings of porridge with a spoon and handed them to Qin Hao. Boom! The other disciples fainted, their faces full of grief and indignation. A pancake cost 3 mysterious crystals, and a bowl of 8 treasure porridge cost 5 mysterious crystals. The 8 treasure porridge was more precious than pancakes. It was greatly beneficial to the strength of a yuan cultivator. Was it also free? There are so many people here. In terms of temperament, appearance, and strength. What did Qin Hao and Yi Shuihan do to deserve it? Why was it free for the two of them? At this moment, the 4 words "were not satisfied" were written all over the faces of the angry disciples. In fact, how could they understand the joy in Lao Ganma's heart? Not to mention a few pancakes and porridge. Even his mother wanted to give the mysterious crystals she earned today to Yi Shuihan. Did her son have money in the academy? Did he need money to pick up girls? What if he was bullied? She was quite worried and anxious. However, she couldn't show too much enthusiasm. That would arouse Yi Shuihan's suspicion. Even if Yi Shuihan was careless, the guy beside him was not a simple character. Lao Ganma had a natural fear of Qin Hao. She couldn't understand why she had such thoughts. In her eyes, Qin Hao was as weak as an ant. "Boss, let's go." After getting the porridge, Yi Shuihan said to Qin Hao happily. Qin Hao nodded, glanced at Lao Ganma, and then left. "Hey, Yi, come out of the academy a few more times when you have time. I'll be waiting for you at this time every day." Lao Ganma shouted at Yi Shuihan's back, her eyes full of expectation. However, Yi Shuihan didn't even look back. "Waiting here for me, young Master Yi, every day? Making me date a dead old woman? You're really indulging in fantasy." Yi Shuihan had already gone to fool around with the other seniors and juniors in the academy. "Lao Ganma, it's my turn. Hurry up, make me a pancake." Qin Hao and Yi Shuihan, the 2 guys who cut the queue, had finally left. This disciple had been waiting in line for too long and ran over impatiently. The others were the same. Their expressions were anxious. They had been stuck in their strength for a long time, waiting for today to eat a pancake that could help them break through. "Sorry, I've sold out of pancakes today. Get lost." After Yi Shuihan left, Lao Ganma's attitude instantly turned cold. Sold out." The disciples' eyes widened. "Who are you kidding? There's obviously a stack of pancakes in the cart, but you said it's sold out. Do you think we're blind? We've been waiting in line for so long. I'm so hungry and thirsty." "Hey, damn old woman, you've gone too far. You're looking down on us. I'm a prodigy of Qiyang University. My uncle is an elder." The other disciples shouted angrily. They had the idea of smashing Lao Ganma's cart if they couldn't get the pancakes. "Get lost." Lao Ganma spun the ladle, and a surge of primordial qi swept forward like a crescent moon. Suddenly, hundreds of stars rose into the sky in the night sky. Mournful howls resounded through the sky of Qiyang University. The entire street was instantly quiet. "How dare you call me a dead old woman? Besides, how am I old?" Lao Ganma cursed angrily. However, she suddenly narrowed her eyes and looked behind her. Her voice was cold as she said, "Sneaky. Is this how Yi Long Yuan taught you to behave? Get out." "Ahem. You found out." Chapter 312. Chapter 312. The cat's out of the bag. It's been more than 10 years since we last met, and you're still as elegant as ever. Since they were acquaintances, Old Man Huang continued to speak politely. "It's been more than 10 years. Lao Ganma snorted and said, "Aren't you the one who has been hiding in the dark and spying on me every day for more than 10 years? As soon as he said that, Old Man Huang felt very embarrassed. He had indeed been monitoring Lao Ganma every day. He knew that he had been discovered long ago, but he didn't say anything. Today was the first time he had shown his face. "I'm sure you've recognized him. Yi Shuihan is the Lord's son. I hope you can be magnanimous and not snatch him away." "Shut up." Before Old Man Huang could finish his words, Lao Ganma interrupted him sternly and said in an unusually firm tone, "Yi Shuihan is not Yi Long Yuan's son, but my son. In the future, he will inherit my great ambitions and serve Daqin. Consort you, my ancestor, please be merciful. Master only has one son, the young master. Luo Shui also only has one prince. This old servant kneels before you." Old Man Huang was so anxious that he fell to his knees with a plop. 2 drops of tears were pitifully squeezed out. She knew that once Yi Shuihan arrived at Qiyang University, Xianqiue would definitely recognize him. Yi Shuihan's appearance and conduct were far too similar to the Dragon Abyss Emperor when he was young. It's been 18 years since you took my son away. I've been thinking about him day and night. Not to mention you kneeling in front of me. Even if Yi Longyuan kneels in front of me personally, he can't stop me from reuniting with Shuihan. Shuihan is a descendant of Daqin, not a prince of Luo Shui. His future mission is to assist our lord and become an important minister of Daqin. Lao Ganma would never back down. She had already planned out Yi Shuihan's life. Because of this, she had broken up with Yi Longyuan. Yi Longyuan was afraid of the strength of the sunset war god of Daqin in the East Continent. He was afraid that Yi Shuihan would be involved in it and be consigned to eternal damnation. At that time, the entire Luo Shui Empire would cease to exist. He only wanted Yi Shuihan to be a prince peacefully, and he would inherit the throne of Luo Shui in the future. Yi Longyuan had already planned out Yi Shuihan's life, but if Yi Shuihan was here alone, he would definitely resist to the end. Assist Dindi and be a meritorious minister of Daqin. I just want to be a follower of Boss Qin Hao. You arrange this and that for me. Let your grand plans and ambitions go to hell. I will follow Boss Qin Hao every day to show off and pick up girls. I will be satisfied in this life. Alas, old man Huang knew that he couldn't stop Xianqiu. He shook his head and sighed. Then he got up and said, "For more than 10 years, the Lord of Longyuan has missed you very much. He hopes to see you again." See me? Ha! He doesn't want to see me. He wants to ask me for help, right? Xianqiue's bright eyes were shining with wisdom. She sneered and said, "I heard that the Empress of Wei in Xiliang has a strange disease. There is no cure." She put her last hope on Pavilion Master Dange. For this reason, she didn't hesitate to send 200,000 soldiers to threaten the frontier fortress of Luo Shui. She also didn't hesitate to let Princess Naransu sneak into the disciples of Qiyang University as an ordinary person. She wanted to pry the secret of Pavilion Master Dange from the disappeared president. Hehe, is Yi Longyuan so anxious that he thought of me? Go back and tell him that he wants my help? No way. At this point, Lao Ganma didn't want to talk nonsense with old man Huang anymore. She pushed the cart back to the store. When she was about to close the door, she said, "Also, tell Yi Longyuan to stop thinking about my son. Yi Shuihan is a remnant of Daqin. If Yi Longyuan dares to play tricks again, I will make you Luo Shui and never have peace." After that, the door closed mercilessly. Old man Huang stood alone outside the door, exuding a heavy sense of powerlessness. Indeed, Xianqiue had enough ability and strength to turn the Luo Shui Empire upside down. But who could he blame? Yi Longyuan could only blame himself for being a playboy. When he was young, he had provoked the existence that he shouldn't have. He carried the pancakes and ate Treasure's porridge all the way back to the college. Qin Hao had gained a lot today. More importantly, he had found the descendant of Xianyu. He didn't know if Xianyu was still alive. With her emperor-level strength, her lifespan was at least 800 years. She was also an alchemist, so it was not a problem for her to take care of herself. She should still be alive. Qin Hao couldn't help but feel excited. As long as he followed Lao Ganma, he would find Xianyu's whereabouts sooner or later. Right now, he needed to finish the pancakes and strengthen himself. He needed to be well prepared for the battle with Mount Ibaraki in 4 days. In this battle, not only did he need to restore his identity as a core disciple and get the letter of appointment to enter the inner yard, but he also needed to completely establish his unshakable position in the outer yard. Before he returned to the courtyard, there was an earth-shattering noise in front of him, accompanied by wails of ghosts and howls of wolves. Qin Hao frowned. Why was there someone practicing martial arts in the middle of the night? The sound of the stick hitting was so loud, and it was in Yi Shuihan's courtyard. Something's wrong. Qin Hao pulled Yi Shuihan and ran. They rushed into the courtyard and pushed open the cruel door. Old man Huang was locked in that door. He was living a life worse than death. At the moment when the door was pushed open, Heikue was still beating him violently. His hatred for Qin Hao was indescribable. He had to beat him to his heart's content. He swung the stick for 2 hours. He would never be satisfied until he beat Qin Hao in a meat paste. As long as the person in the bag was still screaming, his stick would not stop. Creak! The door was pushed open. Qin Hao and Yi Shuihan stood at the door. The light shone on their bodies. Their faces were very clear. What? Heikue looked at Qin Hao at the door. His neck stretched out more than a foot. His eyeballs almost flew out of his eye sockets. The scene in front of him was not real. Qin Hao was clearly put into a gunny sack. Could it be? The person in the gunny sack was not Qin Hao. Then who was it? I've beaten old man Huang to death. Help! Someone come and catch the robber. A painful voice sounded from under his feet. As Heikue's stick stopped, the voice became very clear. Moreover, it was very familiar. It was Teacher Han, who taught in the outer courtyard. Cha! Oh no! He was beating old man Han. The matter was exposed. Run! Heikue knew that things were not good. He did not dare to stay. He was beating an outer courtyard teacher. If he was caught, the consequences would be unimaginable. He would most likely be expelled from the academy. Fortunately, he was too dark. No one discovered him in the night. Fortunately, there's a piece of cloth under his nose. Who is it? Stop! At this moment, not to mention Qin Hao, even Yi Shuihan discovered the intruder. How dare you barge into my courtyard? Just as he was about to chase, Qin Hao stretched out his hand and pulled Yi Shuihan back. There's no need to chase. You can't catch this person in the night. Qin Hao shook his head. Even with Dinda's sharp vision, he could only see a dark face. Although he was not very clear, Qin Hao recognized it from the aura. This person was Heikue. It was just that Heikue was too dark. It was not easy to catch him in the night. If he hid in a dark mouse hole, it would take dozens of days to find him. Chapter 3:13. Your time has come. After one night, the news of the bandits in the academy spread. The bandits were extremely vicious. They had broken into the courtyard of an elite disciple to commit murder. They were truly audacious. While searching for the bandits, the court also severely punished the guards of the outer court. It had to be said that this Heikue also caused a small sensation. Except for Qin Hao, no one knew that the bandit was Heikue. It wasn't hard to guess that the reason he had barged into Yi Shuihan's courtyard was to assassinate Qin Hao. His hatred for Qin Hao was irreconcilable. It was a pity that Master Han had become a scapegoat. Mr. Han was beaten beyond recognition. All the bones in his body were broken. If he hadn't activated a protective talisman given to him by the old dean at the critical moment, there was an 80% chance that he would have been beaten to death by Heikue. Even so, his injuries were quite serious, and he was sent to a mental hospital. His injuries could be healed, but the shock he received could not be healed in a day or two. This Master Han was quite pitiful. Qin Hao would definitely avenge him. During this time, Qin Hao finished all the pancakes he brought back. There was not a single drop left in the 2 servings of 8 treasure porridge. Yi Shuihan did not even take a bite. In his own words, he was already so powerful. So what was the point of eating pancakes? What's the use of eating 8 treasures porridge? There were shackles and restrictions in his body, so even pills wouldn't be of any use. He might as well give them all to Qin Hao. The extremely precious pancakes and 8 treasures porridge had also allowed Qin Hao's strength to break through a small level and reach the peak of a 2-star primal ancestor. The advancement of a Sky Origin Master was much more difficult than that of a Sky Origin Master. For days later, it was time for the battle between Qin Hao and Mount Ibaraki. Pushing open the door, Qin Hao's eyes were like torches, and his aura was like a rainbow as he stepped onto the outer courtyard battle arena. His aura didn't show on the outside, but was restrained. Only those who had reached a certain level of strength could see it. Qin Hao lightly clenched his fist and felt the strength in his hand. His confidence was unprecedentedly strong. Yao Lao's Fire Immortal Grass, Moon Fallen Leaf, and Blood Lingji Mushroom are truly extraordinary. They have raised my strength by 3 stars. Qin Hao refined the 3 stalks of medicinal herbs into pills. The abundant energy in the pills had already allowed him to advance from a 2-star Yuan ancestor to a 5-star Yuan ancestor. However, his strength was far more than that. In addition to more than 100 refined weapons, Qin Hao had also successfully integrated the method of refining weapons into his body during this period of time. The weapon qi from the hundreds of refined weapons was converted into vital qi by the Great Void Cauldron. Qin Hao's flesh and blood greedily devoured it, and his strength rose from a 5-star primary ancestor to a 7-star primary ancestor. This surprised even Qin Hao. In 10 days, he went from a 1-star Yuan ancestor to a 7-star Yuan ancestor. His leveling speed was terrifying. No one in the outer yard would believe it. At this moment, in the eyes of the other disciples, Qin Hao was a person who was about to die. They thought that Qin Hao could cultivate to a 2-star Yuan ancestor at most in 10 days. How could he be a match for Mount Ibaraki, who was ranked 8th on the Earth roll? They were also eagerly looking forward to Qin Hao's death. Qin Hao had cheated more than 100 people of their black crystals and refined weapons in the medical tower. He had also sold pills in the killing zone, causing the people who killed him to lose everything. Therefore, a large number of disciples had already gathered around the arena for this battle. There was no need for anyone to announce it. Everyone had been waiting for this battle for too long. They were all here to see Qin Hao die. Only Qin Hao's death could resolve the hatred in their hearts. At the arena, there was a sea of people. Not only were there many disciples that Qin Hao had offended, but there were also many elders who came to watch. Although today was nominally a battle between Qin Hao and Mount Ibaraki, everyone knew in their hearts that it was actually a battle between Great Elder Yuning Chong and the Vice Principal. This battle would probably determine the qualifications of the two to compete for the position of the next principal. However, they were not optimistic about Yuning Chang's chances. Qin Hao was just a new disciple. Even if he had a 9-segment mark, he was not a match for Mount Ibaraki. Mount Ibaraki was a senior in the outer yard. He had been training in the outer yard for 3 years and was a strong disciple on the Earth roll. They also heard that in order to suppress Elder Yun, the vice principal had personally trained Mount Ibaraki and rewarded him with a treasure. This made Mount Ibaraki wild with joy. He was so emotional that he cried for a few days. To outsiders, he also claimed that he was the 2nd disciple of the vice principal, Ouyang Hua. Although Ouyang Hua did not admit it, in Ouyang Hua's eyes, Mount Ibaraki was just a dog that bit people for him. He could not be compared to Yuan Huai. However, when he saw Mount Ibaraki patting his chest and swearing to let Qin Hao die in the arena, Ouyang Hua was very happy. Today was also the day he was going to confess to Yuning Chong. Once Mount Ibaraki won, it would prove that Yuning Chong was not as good as Ouyang Hua. So be my woman and don't fight with me for the principal's position. Your brother, Qin Hao, is just a piece of trash. Fellow junior brothers, thank you all for coming. Fellow elders, thank you all very much for coming as well. Today is the day I make a name for myself. The arena is Mount Ibaraki's private stage. Please witness this historic moment for me, because today I will become the 2nd disciple of the vice principal. As he spoke, Mount Ibaraki had already arrived at the bottom of the arena. He sat down, surrounded by dozens of Red Father Society members. In order to show his might, he deliberately wore less. He only wore a pair of shorts. His upper body was bare, his feet were bare, and he had a small cape on his back. He looked like a gladiator, showing off his strong muscles. He thought that he was extremely flirtatious. At least, at this moment, many of the juniors were screaming. They must be envious of his body. Just how strong was he? Instantly, Mount Ibaraki became even more proud. The group of lackeys behind him also began to massage his shoulders and thighs so that senior brother Yin could perform better. It would be best if he could defeat Qin Hao in one blow. Senior brother Yan's chest muscles are so developed. The muscles on his thighs are strong and powerful. His explosive power must be amazing. I heard that he practiced an advanced mystic class skill given by the vice principal. Today, Qin Hao will most likely be turned into a bloody pulp. Many of the disciples shook their heads. Even if they were freshmen and couldn't stand the arrogance of the seniors, they still thought that Qin Hao would definitely die. Although, in their hearts, they were on Qin Hao's side. Ha ha! A newbie dares to challenge senior brother Yin, who is ranked 8th on the Earth leaderboard. He must be tired of living. This is the result of Qin Hao tricking us. I want to see him beaten to death with my own eyes. Then, I will sing a song for everyone to congratulate senior brother Yin on his victory. The other senior students said. Their hatred for Qin Hao was evident from their words. Sigh. Many of the elders shook their heads and sighed. Ouyang Hua and Yuan Huai had gone too far. Not only did they deprive Qin Hao of his position as a core disciple, but they also set up an arena and released the evil dog, Mount Ibaraki, to kill Qin Hao. Many people felt that it was a pity and looked at the figure in white in the distance. This figure in white was naturally Yining Chong. At this moment, she was also very nervous. She thought that Qin Hao was too reckless. How could he defeat Mount Ibaraki in just 10 days? Chapter 314. Translator, Nioibo Studio Editor. Nioibo Studio fighting for you. Why isn't Qin Hao here yet? It's almost noon. He's probably scared. Senior brother Yin is ranked 8th on the Earth list. If I were facing senior brother Yin, I would be so scared that my legs would tremble and I would kneel down and call him my ancestor. I feel that Qin Hao must have escaped. Otherwise, he would have fought with senior brother Yin 10 days ago. Why would he wait until today? Elder Yin treats him like a younger brother. It turns out that Qin Hao is just a good-for-nothing, a coward. The people below the stage waited for a long time, but Qin Hao still did not appear. They were extremely dissatisfied. Some people guessed that Qin Hao had escaped long ago. Compared to being a disciple of Qian University, staying alive was more important. In today's battle, life and death were not important. It would be strange if Qin Hao did not escape. Brother Hao is a great hero. He will not escape. Don't slander him. At this moment, a clear voice filled with anger rang out. When the other disciples heard this, they were infuriated. There was actually someone who was a busybody and felt injustice for Qin Hao. Some disciples began to rub their fists, ready to teach the person who spoke up for Qin Hao a lesson. However, when they looked over, the dissatisfaction on their faces immediately turned into bright smiles. It was Nailin Li who spoke up for Qin Hao. Nailin Li's current status was different from before. She was the direct disciple of the muddle-headed old man, a spiritual array grandmaster in the outer yard. The others could not wait to curry favor with her. Moreover, there was a beautiful woman standing beside her. The beautiful woman was tall and had an excellent figure. Her face was otherworldly, and no one dared to approach her. With one look, the cold beauty subdued the hearts of all the disciples on the spot. She was the only female disciple in the outer yard who was ranked on the Earth list. Her name was Naransu. Naransu had the strength of a peak 6-star sky grandmaster and was ranked 5th on the Earth list. She was also recognized as the most beautiful girl in the outer yard. Other than Yining Chong, she was the most beautiful girl in the outer yard. Yining Chong was an elder and had a high position. Ordinary disciples could only fantasize about her and did not dare to have any evil thoughts. Naransu was different. She was an outer yard disciple. Although she was stronger, the others still had a chance. In an instant, everyone's eyes became fanatical. Naransu and Nailin Li looked too similar. They were clearly a pair of beautiful sisters. What was different was that Naransu had a hint of immaturity and naivety, while Naransu was in her prime. So it's junior sister Xiaoli and senior Naransu. Junior sister Xiaoli, you're wrong. Qin Hao is a cowardly rat. How can he be worthy of being called a great hero? He has yet to appear. He must be afraid of senior brother Yin. The other disciples burst into laughter. Who's the one spouting nonsense and framing my boss? The stench is overwhelming. Yi Shuihan swaggered over with an angry shout. As he walked by, the others all made way for him. Ordinary disciples could not afford to offend Nailin Li and Yi Shuihan, unless they wanted to die under the sledgehammer in Old Man Huang's crotch. In short, If Yi Shuihan lost half a strand of hair, it would not benefit anyone. Junior sister Xiaoli, I haven't seen you for 10 days, and you've grown taller. Come and let Brother Han hug you. Aya, this must be Miss Nalan Zhu. This lowly one's surname is Yi, and my name is Shuihan. I have admired Miss Nalan Zhu for a long time. Why don't we take this opportunity to find a place where no one is around to sit down and have a cup of tea together and discuss life and ideals? As he spoke, Yi Shuihan's mouth was full of saliva. He was so passionate that he wanted to pounce on Naransu. Get lost, Naransu said coldly. It was as if a basin of cold water was poured on Yi Shuihan, extinguishing his passion. Her words caused the surrounding disciples to burst into laughter. Yi Shuihan felt that he had lost face and shut his mouth obediently. Anyway, he was not the main character today. The main character was Boss Qin Hao. Compared to the others' worries, Yi Shuihan was very calm. He knew that Boss would win. It's getting late. Qin Hao, that bastard is still not here. How dare he put on airs in front of me? See how I'll teach him a lesson later. Mount Ibaraki, who was below the stage, could not sit still. The sun was hanging above his head, and it was so hot that he was sweating all over. He wore less, and sweat flowed down his chest and wet his shorts. There was also a ball of fire in his heart, and he blamed all of his anger on Qin Hao. At this moment, Qin Hao, who had arrived late, finally walked to the center of the stage. Sorry to keep everyone waiting. Qin Hao, who was dressed in snow-white clothes, said leisurely, Boss, brother. Immediately, Yining Chong, Yi Shuihan, and Nalan Li surrounded Qin Hao. Qin Hao's appearance also attracted everyone's attention, and he instantly became the focus of the audience. This made Mount Ibaraki, who was sitting on the chair, so angry that he clenched his fists. For today's battle, he came 2 hours early and deliberately dressed so flirtatiously. As soon as Qin Hao appeared, his limelight was stolen. Qin Hao, I can't help but admire your courage to court death. Mount Ibaraki stood up from his chair and gritted his teeth. Who's the one courting death? You'll know soon enough. Qin Hao also said coldly, Brother, don't let loyalty get the better of you. I think we shouldn't fight today. Yining Chang's worry was written all over her face. In 10 days, Qin Hao was definitely not Mount Ibaraki's opponent. Ha! That's right, Qin Hao. Why don't you listen to Elder Yin? Kneel down and apologize to Senior Brother Yin and call him Ancestor. Maybe Senior Brother Yin will be happy and let you go like a fart. Sigh. Who asked him to have a great elder sister? No one dares to say anything if he goes back on his words just because of her status as an elder. But it's really embarrassing. If I were Qin Hao, I'd rather bang my head on a piece of tofu and die. The other disciples were afraid that Qin Hao would run away at the last minute, so they all pointed at him and mocked him. They wanted to provoke Qin Hao's anger and force him into the arena. If Qin Hao didn't die, how could the others be at ease? You heard it too. If I don't fight today, will I be able to face you? Qin Hao wasn't angry. In fact, there was no need for him to be angry. Instead, he smiled and said to Yining Chong. Yining Chong took a deep breath and started to blame herself. She shouldn't have treated Qin Hao so well in front of others and attracted the envy and jealousy of others. If that's the case, go ahead. If there's any danger, I'll save you immediately. Actually, there's no need for that. Naransa walked up and stood in front of Qin Hao. You're Qin Hao, right? Thank you for saving my sister many times during the forest assessment. For today's battle, I can represent you in the arena and defeat Mount Ibaraki. Naransu was ranked 5th on the Earth leaderboard. It would be a piece of cake for her to defeat Mount Ibaraki, who was ranked 8th on the Earth leaderboard. Her words shocked Mount Ibaraki. He immediately shouted, Everyone, come and take a look. Qin Hao is just a piece of trash. He's afraid of my strength. He actually colluded with Naransu and tried to frame Mount Ibaraki. Elders and junior brothers, your eyes are clear as snow. Are you trying to murder me? His words immediately caused many disciples to despise Qin Hao. Firstly, I won't let anyone represent me in the battle. Secondly, you're really good at spewing shit. This battle is between me and Yuan Huai. Yuan Huai doesn't dare to fight, so he asked you to be the one to stand up for him. Are you saying that only the two of you are allowed to collude, but no one else is allowed to represent me in the battle? Moreover, I have no intention of finding someone to represent me, Qin Hao said coldly. Chapter 315. Translator, Nioibo Studio Editor, Nioibo Studio Unexpected. They wanted to throw dirty water at Qin Hao. On the other hand, Mount Ibaraki smiled proudly. He was very satisfied with Qin Hao's answer. This was the result he wanted. He was afraid that Naransu would fight in place of Qin Hao. If that was the case, he would lose for sure. Qin Hao, think carefully. Mount Ibaraki is not a simple 5-star sect. He might be a 6-star sect. I can only help you defeat him if I show up. Of course, I will only help you this once. Don't miss the chance to live. Nailin Ju's tone was somewhat dissatisfied. She was willing to help Qin Hao, but he did not appreciate it. He really did not know his place. The other elders also looked at Qin Hao as if he was an unteachable child. They thought that Qin Hao was overestimating himself. I have thought it through. First of all, thank you. Then please step aside, Qin Hao said calmly. He did not even turn his head as he stepped onto the battle stage, giving off a heroic aura. A 6-star sect? I don't think much of you. Not to mention Mount Ibaraki, even your peak 6-star sect, Naransu, is nothing in front of me. Qin Hao's current cultivation level was enough to fight with the top 3 on the earth roll. You don't know what's good for you. Nailin Ju coldly spat out these words. She looked at Nailin Li with some resentment. Her eyes seemed to say, "This is the great hero you admire? I think he is just an idiot." Ha! Since you are determined to die, I congratulate you warmly. You have become Mount Ibaraki's stepping stone. It is your honor to die in my hands. As Qin Hao stepped onto the battle arena, the members of the Red Daddy Club behind Mount Ibaraki quickly removed the red cloak from his body. Yin Baishan rubbed his fists and smiled ferociously. His thick and sturdy legs fiercely stomped on the stone steps. This stomp had shattered the first stone step. Hiss! There was a chill in the air. It seemed like the rumors were true. Mount Ibaraki had most likely reached the level of a 6-star Yuan zone. With his current strength, defeating the 7th on the Earth leaderboard would not be a problem. Wait! Just as Mount Ibaraki stepped onto the stage, a rough voice rang out. Following that, Hei Kuei, whose face was as black as a pot, rushed up. He said loudly, "Mount Ibaraki, I hope you can give me a chance to show off. This Qin Hao and I are absolutely irreconcilable. To thank you, I'm willing to give you all the Xian crystals I receive next month." Mount Ibaraki was stunned. His brows furrowed, and he was extremely dissatisfied. Hei Kuei was clearly here to steal the limelight. Mount Ibaraki had made an agreement with Ouyang Hua. If he killed Qin Hao, he would become the other party's second disciple. You and Qin Hao are sworn enemies? I am absolutely irreconcilable with him. He killed my cousin. However, Hei Kuei was still a reputable figure on the Earth leaderboard. Mount Ibaraki said calmly, "You want to fight with Qin Hao first?" Hei Kuei nodded. "No, Qin Hao is my prey. The Xian crystals you're giving me are too little." Mount Ibaraki was implying that Hei Kuei's offer was too little. He secretly gestured 2 fingers, meaning that if Hei Kuei gave him 2 months' worth of Xian crystals from the academy, he would give Hei Kuei a chance to show off. Okay. Hei Kuei nodded without hesitation. He was ready to go all out. Qin Hao, you have a lot of enemies. Then you can play with brother Hei Kuei first. If you can't even defeat the 9th on the Earth leaderboard, how dare you challenge me? But remember, Hei Kuei, you can't kill Qin Hao. Mount Ibaraki said fiercely. He had to be the one to deal the final blow to Qin Hao, and he would only allow Hei Kuei to abuse Qin Hao once. Don't worry, I won't steal your limelight. As Hei Kuei spoke, he stepped onto the arena with a face full of anger. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Since the day Qin Hao killed Du Ziding. Since the day Qin Hao cheated Hei Kuei of his Xian crystals and steel whip. Junior brother's revenge. The hatred of stealing my steel whip, brother Zhang Fei's snake spear, Any one of these is enough to make you die without a burial place. I've been looking for you for half a month. Qin Hao, do you know how excited I am right now? Hei Kuei's eyes were burning with the flames of war. He didn't squat in the toilet for nothing. The opportunity for revenge had come. Qin Hao didn't expect Hei Kuei to appear out of nowhere. He hadn't settled the score with Hei Kuei yet, but Hei Kuei sent his head to him. Well, it saves me some trouble. Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of Teacher Han, who's in the mental hospital. You? How did you know I was the one who hit Teacher Han? Hei Kuei was shocked and panicked. If this matter spread out, he wouldn't be able to be a disciple of Qiyang University. Thinking of this, Hei Kuei's murderous intent grew stronger. Today, he couldn't let Qin Hao leave alive. Since you know, I might as well admit it. That's right, I was the one who attacked Teacher Han. I was going to kill you that day, but Teacher Han suffered for nothing. Qin Hao, you're really a troublemaker. You're the one who harmed Teacher Han. You're a coward. Come on, hit me. Come and take revenge. You, Teacher Han, teach me a lesson and let me stay in the mental hospital. If I don't die today, I'll let you Shui Han stay in the mental hospital tomorrow. Unfortunately, you can't stop me. You don't have the strength. Die, Black Tiger, heart-gouging palm. Hei Kuei roared. Surging vital energy wreaked havoc. The vital energy condensed into a tiger's head on his right palm. The tiger opened its bloody mouth and rushed towards Qin Hao with Hei Kuei. The tiger's mouth went straight for his heart. This scene caused everyone to be greatly shocked. Someone couldn't help but shout. That was Hei Kuei's mid-grade dark class vital energy technique. It was a killer move. This killer move had once swallowed a 3-star elementalist to death. Qin Hao was a 1-star elementalist. There was no way he could block it. Below the stage, Yuning was also extremely nervous. She secretly activated her Yuan Qi, preparing to rescue Yi Fuqian at any time. Hei Kuei, you untrustworthy bastard. Mount Ibaraki cursed angrily. Hei Kuei had promised not to steal his limelight, but the moment he went on stage, he killed Qin Hao with one strike. This was a chance to make a name for himself. Ha! Qin Hao, you should be afraid. Tremble. It's too late for regrets now. Who asked you to steal my steel whip? Who gave you the guts to kill my junior brother? And who asked you to rob Zhang Fei's snake spear? You are a retard. Hei Kuei was extremely excited. With this strike, he would become the hero of the outer court. His junior sisters would throw themselves at him, and his junior brothers would worship him. Perhaps Vice Principal Ouyang would be happy and directly accept Hei Kuei as his disciple. Well, it seemed like being unlucky was also an honor. Hei Kuei fell into a beautiful dream, unable to extricate himself. Bang! There was a dull sound of impact. This palm strike ruthlessly struck Qin Hao's chest. But in the end, he didn't even lose a single hair. Qin Hao's white robe was as clean as before, and Hei Kuei's killing move didn't have any effect. Is this what you have to show off? Qin Hao stood on the same spot, as steady as a mountain, his eyes filled with disdain. A layer of faint blue light floated on the surface of his body, as though there was an armor covering his body. Hei Kuei's full-force strike from a 4-star sky Origin Grandmaster couldn't even break Qin Hao's armor. The disciples below the stage were in an uproar. Qin Hao's performance was beyond everyone's expectations. Hei Kuei was a 4-star sky Origin Grandmaster, but his full-force strike didn't have any effect on him. That was Hei Kuei's killing move. It seemed like Qin Hao wasn't as weak as he appeared to be. He must have made a breakthrough in the past 10 days, and he might really be qualified to fight with senior brother Yin. Yining Chang's beautiful eyes widened in surprise. Her previous worries were swept away. She smiled faintly. Indeed, she should believe in Qin Hao. Qin Hao had once created miracles in the 4-nation martial arts competition with his weak abilities, and everyone had a whole new level of respect for him. Today, he would definitely shock Qiyang University once again. Chapter 316. Translator, Nyoibo, Studio Editor. Nyoibo Studio, you reap what you sow. This is impossible. I can't even break your elemental armor? Panic flashed across Hei Kuei's eyes as his heart palpitated uneasily. As the ninth expert on the Earth roll, he had the strength of a 4-star elemental ancestor. Qin Hao had only been in the academy for 10 days. Even if he had a breakthrough, it was already a miracle that he could break through from a 1-star elemental ancestor to a 2-star elemental ancestor. However, it was impossible for him to block his dark-grade elemental skill, Black Tiger Steel's Heart. Could it be Qin Hao had the protection talisman that Elder Yin had given him? That must be it. He Kuei immediately figured it out. It was impossible that he couldn't even defeat Qin Hao. The protection talisman could block the killing blow for Qin Hao and would definitely be exhausted. However, He Kuei could still use the second killing blow. With the second strike, Qin Hao would be like his previous opponents and have a huge hole in his chest. Die, Black Tiger Steel's Heart Palm. He Kuei's eyes glowed with golden light as he regained his confidence. He once again took in the air in his palm and used the second strike. His heart actually trembled a little just now. How humiliating. The second strike was even more ferocious than the first. He roared. Qin Hao kneeled down. Bang! The condensed ferocious tiger head struck Qin Hao's chest once again. Many female disciples below the stage couldn't help but cover their eyes, afraid to see the bloody scene. However, what followed was the strange cries of the male disciples. When He Kuei's second strike landed, there was only a puff of blue smoke on Qin Hao's chest. The elemental armor on the surface of Qin Hao's body was still firm and unbroken. There was even an intense pain coming from his hand. It was so painful that He Kuei grimaced and kept retreating with his fists. Some sharp-eyed disciples noticed that He Kuei's palm had cracked. Oh my God, a 1-star elemental ancestor stood there and allowed a 4-star elemental ancestor to hit him. He is still unharmed. He Kuei's hand is even broken. Isn't Qin Hao's defense a little too abnormal? Elder Yun must have taught him some high-grade defensive elemental skill. When the first palm landed, Qin Hao did not die as everyone had imagined. When the second palm landed, it was still the same. Instead, it even shattered He Kuei's palm. Everyone was shocked. Why can't I break Qin Hao's Yuan armor when I'm a 4-star Yuan ancestor? That's impossible. He must have cheated using despicable means. Take my third palm strike. He Kuei had completely lost his mind with his monstrous anger. 2 consecutive palm strikes were unable to harm a single strand of Qin Hao's hair. To He Kuei, who was ranked 9th on the Earth leaderboard, this was a great humiliation. Qin Hao must have some amulets on him. But it was impossible for there to be 3 of them. Roar! A ferocious tiger roar resounded. After He Kuei's third palm strike, an incomparably ferocious tiger had appeared. This tiger head was majestic and ruthlessly devoured Qin Hao's chest. Clown, your performance is over. Qin Hao had already lost his patience. Not to mention a 4-star Yuan ancestor like He Kuei, even Mount Ibaraki would not be able to break his Yuan armor. He casually extended his right hand, which looked extremely weak. Bang! It collided with the ferocious tiger head in front of him. Instantly, a figure fell from the battle arena like a meat bag. There was even a heart-wrenching scream that resounded through the arena. The scream made one's scalp go numb. Ah! My hand! My hand! The person who fell was naturally He Kuei. He wailed miserably as he rolled on the ground. His entire right arm had disappeared without a trace. The moment he collided with Qin Hao, it had been annihilated by the surging Yuan Qi. Boom! Everyone's hearts were pounded hard. He Kuei, who was ranked 9th on the Earth leaderboard, had been defeated. He had been defeated so cleanly. Qin Hao stood on the spot and took the 2 palm strikes head-on, but he was not injured at all. However, a casual strike had directly blasted He Kuei off the stage, and his entire arm had been shattered. What kind of powerful defense was this, and what kind of incisive attack power was this? He Kuei could not withstand a single blow from Qin Hao. A row of cold sweat had already unknowingly slid down the faces of all the disciples. He Kuei was no match for Qin Hao. Naturally, they could not even compare to He Kuei. They did not even have the right to carry He Kuei's boots. At this moment, they looked at Qin Hao with eyes full of fear. What else do you know other than howling and screaming all day long? You chased me for half a month from the outer court to the medicine tower, from the medicine tower to the battle arena, and from the battle arena to the living area. You've been fantasizing about killing me all day and spouting nonsense about how I'm weak. In the end, who's the weak one? Your courage to court death is truly admirable. Qin Hao did not even look at He Kuei. You want to avenge Du Zidong? You want to take back your steel whip? You want to stand up for Zhang Feiqiang? Qin Hao used his actions to slap He Kuei's face. You're just a self-righteous and arrogant clown. In fact, the weak one was He Kuei. Boss is indeed the boss. This boldness, this figure, this charm, it's really unparalleled. Yi Shuihan looked at the figure on the stage and said with admiration, "Brother, how is the best?" Nailin Li jumped up excitedly, and there was no longer a trace of worry on her face. "Not too bad, but that's all." Naransu pouted and felt a little complicated. But at this moment, Qin Hao could no longer be underestimated. After defeating He Kuei, Qin Hao had undoubtedly replaced He Kuei's position and become an expert on the Earth list. "You're indeed my brother." Yining Chong smiled with relief. The brilliance in her eyes did not diminish at all. According to Qin Hao's usual style of doing things, perhaps this was just the beginning. Below the stage, Mount Ibaraki looked coldly at He Kuei, who was rolling on the ground, and his face trembled a few times. Qin Hao's performance was indeed unexpected. In Mount Ibaraki's view, Qin Hao should be rolling on the ground after being beaten by He Kuei. In the end, it was the opposite. What a useless thing. You've embarrassed us Earthless disciples. Get lost like a dog. Your performance is over, and my performance is on. Only I, Mount Ibaraki, can subdue Qin Hao, this unruly wolf cub. Mount Ibaraki spat at He Kuei in disgust and was ready to go on the stage. Mount Ibaraki, don't look down on me. I, He Kuei, am also a reputable figure. In fact, Qin Hao should have died in my hands long ago. If it weren't for my bad luck, it wouldn't be your turn to humiliate me today. It's the heavens that are against me. He Kuei activated his vitality and stood up. He clenched his teeth and suppressed his injuries to stop the bleeding. His eyes were filled with hatred as he stared at Qin Hao on the stage. "Oh, you're unlucky? Could it be that you're still unconvinced?" Qin Hao said with a cold smile. "Brat, you know very well that 4 days ago, if it wasn't for what? You're actually a useless piece of trash. You were useless 4 days ago, and you're still useless now. Your methods can't hurt me at all. You're pissing me off. Why are you so arrogant? 4 days ago, if it wasn't for Teacher Han who came out like an idiot and was put into a sack by me to take a beating for you, you would have died under my rod. You wouldn't have lived to this day." He Kuei was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. In order to save his face, he spoke without thinking. "Oh." Qin Hao dragged his voice and revealed an expression of realization. "Oh, so you're the bandit who beat up Teacher Han that night. You're finally out of the water. Everyone has been waiting for you for a long time." Yi Shuihan also responded with an "oh." His face was full of smiles as he secretly gave Qin Hao a thumbs up. Boss's provocation was amazing. Chapter 317. Who is stronger? He Kuei only felt that the sky was filled with dark clouds and darkness was about to engulf him. An endless sense of fear arose spontaneously. The rumor of bandits in the school had been spread like wildfire. Because of this, the male students lived in fear all day long. The female students even had to go to the toilet in groups before they dared to go out. This made everyone in the outer yard anxious. They were afraid that the bandits would suddenly appear and put them in the evil sack. Now, the bandits had surfaced. He Kuei beat up a teacher in the outer yard. It was a serious crime. A light punishment would be expulsion from a school. A heavy punishment would be abolishing his cultivation and demoting him to a servant in the school. From a high and mighty earth roll disciple to a servant that everyone trampled on, He Kuei absolutely could not accept this. In an instant, his future was completely destroyed. "Senior Qin Hao, please be merciful. Quickly testify for me. I, He Kuei, am not an evil bandit. Have you forgotten that 4 days ago, we went out to eat fried dough sticks and drink soy milk together? With a plop, Hei knelt down in front of Qin Hao on the stage and hit his head hard on the ground. This scene also made the eyes of all the disciples go numb. Oh my God! The insufferably arrogant Hei of the Earth Roll knelt down in front of someone, and the one who knelt was a student. Unbelievable! Eating soy milk and fried dough sticks with me? Ha! In this regard, Qin Hao shook his head and sneered. Don't you want to avenge Du Ziting? Who is Du Ziting? I don't know him. Hei trembled. Don't you want to take back the steel whip? Low-grade murder weapon is incomparably trash. It's my honor to give it to senior brother Qin Hao. The steel whip has long been thirsty for senior brother Qin Hao. It can't wait to fly into senior brother Qin Hao's hands. Only in your hands can it reflect the value of life. Don't you want to avenge Zhang Fei? Zhang Fei deserved it. He tried to provoke the great senior Qin Hao. He deserved to be robbed and lost his snake spear. What about Mount Ibaraki? Don't you want to give him your mysterious crystals? Qin Hao pointed to Mount Ibaraki. Well, what is Mount Ibaraki? In my eyes, it was like a pile of dog shit. What qualifications did it have for me to show filial piety to it? My mysterious crystals are for you, senior brother Qin Hao. In my heart, senior apprentice brother Qin Hao is a dragon among men. The 9th Division mark is unprecedented. Only you are qualified to be a core disciple. Vice Principal Ouyang Hua is really blind. Yuan Hua is also a pig and a dog. He wanted to frame senior brother Qin Hao. He's guilty of the most heinous crimes, especially this Mount Ibaraki. Hey, I'm talking to you. Why don't you quickly kneel in front of senior brother Qin Hao with me? Call him ancestor and beg senior brother Qin Hao to spare your life. I really admire you. You're only ranked 7th on the Earth leaderboard, but you dare to put on airs in front of senior brother Qin Hao. To tell you the truth, you can't even withstand a single finger from senior brother Qin Hao. Hurry up and get lost. In order to protect his identity as a disciple of Qian University, Hei was also shameless. He indiscriminately bombarded Qin Hao with flattery. In his words, backbone, dignity, and the courage of a man could all go to hell. As long as his cultivation wasn't crippled and he wasn't expelled from the school, Hei wouldn't hesitate to acknowledge Qin Hao as his godfather. Immediately, he began to talk nonstop again. He said that Qin Hao was a man of striking appearance, a girl's lover, and a man's idol. In the future, he would become the #1 person in Qian University. It was only a matter of time before he dominated the land of Western Liang. In comparison, Mount Ibaraki was like horse dung. This round of flattery made everyone's eyes pop out. No one could imagine that this came out of Hei's mouth. Mount Ibaraki, in particular, was so angry that his face turned green. Hei, F*CK, your ancestors. Mount Ibaraki resisted the urge to kill Hei and let out an earth-shattering roar. Continue to howl. Other than howling all day, what else can you do? You chased after senior brother Qin Hao for half a month. You didn't hesitate to become a wolf dog under Yuan Huai's feet. You fantasized about killing senior brother Qin Hao all day long. You said that senior brother Qin Hao couldn't withstand a single blow. The one who couldn't withstand a single blow is you. I, Hei, admire your courage to court death. Hei gave the same words that Qin Hao had given to him to Mount Ibaraki. Puffed. Mount Ibaraki couldn't take it anymore. He spat out a mouthful of blood and anger, scaring the members of the Red Daddy Society. Senior brother Qin Hao is satisfied with my performance. Quickly testify for me. After Hei made Mount Ibaraki vomit blood, he kowtowed to Qin Hao again. All right, I'll testify for you. In fact, 4 days ago, Shui Han and I went out to buy pancakes. When we came back, we happened to meet the robber who beat up Teacher Han. The robber was Hei. Qin Hao smiled and pointed at Hei, who was kowtowing below the stage. His eyes seemed to be saying, "Didn't you arrogantly say that you wanted me to avenge Teacher Han? Now I've done it." Boom! Hei was struck by lightning. He was already so despicable, but Qin Hao still wouldn't let him go. Qin Hao, you and I can't live under the same sky. With a deafening roar, Hei's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He channeled his energy and flew toward the stage. At this moment, he didn't want to live anymore. He wanted to explode his dantian and die. Even if he died, he wanted to perish together with Qin Hao. Unfortunately, before He Kuei could pounce, he was intercepted by a yellow-robed figure. Old Man Huang flew up and grabbed He Kuei's neck. The power of the sage level crushed He Kuei's energy and destroyed his cultivation. Old Man Huang raised his hand and threw the mud like He Kuei away. He said in a deep voice, "Where's the enforcement team? Throw him into the school's dungeon and wait for the dean's orders." He finally heaved a sigh of relief. As the supervisor of the school's superior area, he didn't supervise properly and allowed the robber to run rampant in the school. He caused Teacher Han to suffer such a great disaster. Fortunately, the robber was caught. Old Man Huang just had to wait for the dean's orders. He Kuei was really bold. He could have beaten anyone, but he dared to beat up the old man of the school. One could imagine how miserable He Kuei would be in the future. He would probably end up in a mental hospital like Teacher Han. This matter came to an end. He Kuei was a robber hiding in the school. It really frightened the other disciples. He Kuei was so dark. Who would be able to find him if he committed a crime in the night? He would be a disaster if he was left alive. This scourge was also arrested under Qin Hao's testimony. In an instant, the female disciples below the stage all showed expressions of gratitude to Qin Hao. At the same time, they shook their heads helplessly. After all, Qin Hao wouldn't be able to escape death. He would die at the hands of Mount Ibaraki, who was ranked 7th on the Earth leaderboard. "Qin Hao, do you know how bad my mood is right now?" As he spoke, Mount Ibaraki gritted his teeth and stepped off the stage. His eyes were bloodshot. He stood in front of Qin Hao and clenched his fists so tightly that they made cracking sounds. He was kind enough to give He Kuei a chance to show off. In the end, he didn't manage to deal with Qin Hao. Instead, He Kuei even bit Mount Ibaraki. Before he died, he still wanted to discuss Mount Ibaraki. There was no one else like He Kuei. "Cut the crap. Make your move." Qin Hao didn't need to say much. His hatred for Mount Ibaraki wasn't any less than his hatred for He Kuei. "Stop pretending. Don't think that you can be arrogant in front of me just because you defeated He Kuei. The difference between the 9th and 7th on the Earth leaderboard isn't something you can imagine. Now, why don't you kneel down and beg me to give you a quick death?" Mount Ibaraki roared and clenched his fists tightly at his waist. A turbulent aura spread out, and his blue essence Qi shook the battle arena until it rumbled. His strength also started to increase rapidly. As expected, Mount Ibaraki's cultivation level directly jumped from a 5-star Essence Grandmaster to a beginner 6-star. Chapter 3:18. Translator, Nioibo Studio Editor. Nioibo Studio. The reappearance of Golden Finger. The rumor is true. Senior brother Yin has broken through to a 6-star primary Grandmaster. His aura is too strong. That's nothing. Senior brother Yin is best at his axe skills. The moment he holds the axe, you will know what a reincarnated demon god is. Senior brother Yin has also been trained by the vice president. I heard that his skills are ridiculously strong. How many heads does Qin Hao have left? Even if Elba Yun is here, he won't be able to change the outcome. Many disciples were shocked and started to discuss among themselves. Once on a battle stage, life and death would not be taken into account. This was the Academy's rule. Qin Hao wanted to keep his identity as a core disciple. Wishful thinking. This was especially true for the blue-clothed students below the stage. When they saw that the 100 mountains of rocks' imposing manner was so strong, their faces revealed incomparable shock. His name was Li Tianba, and he was ranked 6th on the Earthboard. He knew that Mount Ibaraki was going to challenge his 6th position in the Earthboard ranking competition this year. Judging from Mount Ibaraki's combat strength, Li Tianba might lose. After all, Mount Ibaraki had been trained by the vice president. If even Li Tianba wasn't a match for Mount Ibaraki, Qin Hao was nothing. Obviously, Li Tianba didn't care about Qin Hao at all. "Sister," Nalan Li tugged at Narance's clothes. She was extremely nervous and wanted to ask Naransu to fight in place of Qin Hao. Otherwise, Qin Hao would be in danger. Don't worry about him. He asked for it, Naransu said with a straight face and a cold gaze. It wasn't that she didn't want to fight, but even if she did, she didn't have the confidence to defeat Mount Ibaraki. She was truly powerless. On the other hand, Yi Shuihan and Yuning Chong stood calmly. They weren't worried at all, and their eyes were filled with anticipation. Yi Shuihan understood Qin Hao's current strength very well. He had reached 7-star Yuan Zone. Qin Hao's 7-star essence sect was far from what an ordinary person could compare to. He wouldn't lose even if he faced a 9-star essence sect. It could be said that no one below the top 3 of the Outer Court Earth Roll was a match for Qin Hao. Mount Ibaraki was just a stepping stone for Boss's rise. As for Yuning Chong, she seemed to see the hot-blooded figure in the Four Nations martial arts tournament again. Qin Hao had unlimited potential. There was nothing he couldn't do. This was Yuning Chang's instinctive confidence in Qin Hao. On the stage, Mount Ibaraki took 2 deep breaths and calmed his foul mood after being angered by Heitong. The Sumeru pouch at his waist flashed, and he took out a battle axe. Holding the battle axe in his hand, his aura surged once more. Xiang Qin Hao said coldly, "Let me tell you the truth. Today, I will dismember you in front of everyone on the arena. Only after you die will I become the vice principal's disciple. Only after you die will I have the face to go back and lick senior brother Huai's boots. If you have any last words, you'd better say them now, because I will send you to hell with my battle axe. If you don't say them now, you won't have the chance anymore." Ha ha! Are you done with your nonsense? Qin Hao was expressionless as the primal qi in his body surged and increased. A ball of blue light flickered violently in front of the disciples and became more and more intense. This was the first time he had shown his cultivation base to everyone. 1-star primal ancestor, 2-star primal ancestor, 3-star primal ancestor, 4-star primal ancestor. Qin Hao's primal qi grew stronger and stronger as his aura expanded. Mount Ibaraki's expression changed drastically and became more and more distorted. Buzz! As the ball of primal qi spread, a flame-like blue light shot up into the sky from Qin Hao's head. Qin Hao's cultivation base had also stabilized at the peak of a 5-star primal ancestor. The scene in front of them made everyone's jaws drop. The shock in their hearts was even greater than Mount Ibaraki's aura just now. The peak of a 5-star primal ancestor. In just 10 days, he had gone from 1-star to 5-star. Was he even human? How terrifying. Elder Yin didn't misjudge him. This kid is extraordinary. Even Old Man didn't expect him to improve so quickly. No wonder he could become a Stage 9 core disciple in the Cruel Force assessment. His talent is unparalleled. In the future, he will definitely become a man of Qiyang University who will stir up the winds and clouds of Xiliang. Sigh. Old Man Huang, the confused old man, and the archery instructor Xie Sanghu shook their heads regretfully. No wonder He Kuei couldn't break Qin Hao's primal qi armor. He Kuei didn't lose unjustly. Qin Hao's true cultivation base had reached the peak of a 5-star primal ancestor. This was a huge surprise. Because of this, He Kuei fell even harder. No matter how strong Qin Hao was, he was definitely not Mount Ibaraki's match. It was all because Yuan Huai's teacher was the vice dean, Ouyang Hua. Ouyang Hua was arrogant and domineering. With him backing Yuan Huai, Qin Hao would never be able to make a name for himself. Today's situation would definitely kill Qin Hao. The unprecedented number of core disciples would also turn into a bubble forever. I didn't expect your cultivation base to reach 5-star primal ancestor. On the stage, Mount Ibaraki was extremely shocked. How long had it been? Only 10 days. Qin had already reached a level that others couldn't reach, even after a few years. Apart from being shocked, a strong sense of fear rose from the bottom of his heart. It turned into a huge hammer and hit Mount Ibaraki's heart hard. His gaze hardened, and he became even more determined to kill Qin Hao. This person couldn't be left alive. You want to kill me, so that you can prove yourself in front of you in Hawaii? Come on. Qin Hao smiled, stretched out his hand, and hooked his finger at Mount Ibaraki. This action was very contemptuous, and the anger that Mount Ibaraki had just suppressed instantly rushed to the top of his head. Little bastard. With a roar, Mount Ibaraki performed the technique that he was proud of, hoping to kill Qin Hao with one blow. He swung his battle axe, and the blade of the axe, which was wrapped in vitality, chopped down at Qin Hao with a force that seemed to split the sky. In an instant, a thick blue blade of light pierced through the air from the head of the axe, and it was unstoppable. The people below the stage couldn't help but cover their mouths. If this blade of light landed, wouldn't it cut him in half? Brother Hao. Tears flowed out of Nalan Li's eyes, and she was about to rush forward to save Qin Hao. As soon as she moved, Naransu grabbed her arm tightly and held her in place. At this time, Mount Ibaraki's axe also mercilessly chopped down in front of Qin Hao. Break! Qin Hao raised his hand and pointed. Swoosh! A sharp ray of light burst out from his fingertip, and with a touch of blue light, it collided with the incoming axe of light. Boom! 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 The two collided, and the axe of light shattered. However, the finger ray did not slow down, and the tyrannical blow penetrated Mount Ibaraki's shoulder. Accompanied by a miserable cry, Mount Ibaraki's severed arm flew into the air after Hei Kuei, and blood splattered all over the arena. Golden Finger! Yuning Chang's beautiful eyes lit up, and she immediately recognized this set of finger techniques. In the Four Nations martial arts tournament, this finger technique had defeated Long Out-Yin's Lingxi finger, and also took his life. This was Qin Hao's unique technique. Whoosh! A commotion broke out below the stage, and like a plague, it instantly swept through the entire arena, shocking the thousands of disciples who came to watch the battle. Mount Ibaraki's axe did not chop Qin Hao to death. Instead, its arm was pierced by Qin Hao's finger ray, and its arm was even chopped off. This are our eyes blind? Mount Ibaraki was a 6-star origin sect. Qin Hao's ability was only 5-star. He actually crippled the 7th on the Earth leaderboard. Chapter 319. Translator. Nioibo Studio Editor. Nioibo, Studio 3 Axes of Gold Bite. You actually dared to cripple my arm? In the arena, Mount Ibaraki stared blankly at the broken limb at his feet. He had forgotten about the pain, and there was only confusion and shock in his heart. He was no match for Qin Hao. Qin Hao did not respond at all. His calm gaze seemed to be saying, "You're crazy. You want to kill me, but I'm not allowed to hurt you? I want you dead." After a brief moment of shock, Mount Ibaraki roared in anger. Before coming, he had made a vow in front of Ouyang Hua that he would make Qin Hao's blood splatter on the arena. He had never thought that the person who would be splattering blood on the arena would be him. As someone ranked 7th on the Earth leaderboard, he couldn't even block a single finger from Qin Hao. What kind of humiliation was that? He swung his arm, and the battle axe in his hand slashed toward Qin Hao's face. At the same time, Mount Ibaraki clenched his fist and got into a stable stance. The elemental energy in his body rose rapidly, and the blue elemental energy in his left fist grew stronger and stronger. Kinetic light wave. With a roar, Mount Ibaraki punched forward with his left fist. A ferocious and thick beam of light shot out from his fist like an evil dragon, charging toward Qin Hao with an unstoppable force. The corners of Yin Baishan's mouth curled up. With this move, Qin Hao was dead for sure. This was a high-grade mystic elemental skill that the vice president had personally taught him. It was extremely mysterious. If Qin Hao did not die, Mount Ibaraki would be willing to kneel down and call him father. Instantly, screams could be heard from below the arena. Those with discerning eyes could tell that the power of the kinetic light wave was enough to annihilate a peak 6-star elementalist. This was definitely the result of the vice president's teachings on Mount Ibaraki. Qin Hao was merely a 5-star elementalist. There was only one outcome: escape or die. Break again. Unexpectedly, Not only did Qin Hao not run away, he stretched out his hand and caught the flying axe firmly in his hand. At this moment, a dazzling brilliance spread from his palm to the entire battle axe, covering it with a layer of blue radiance. Similarly, he swung his heavy axe down. Whoosh! The axe beam, supported by Qin Hao's dragon vortex technique, tore through the air and tore the flying dragon into two. Blood splattered everywhere as the axe beam slashed across the body of the Mount Ibaraki, taking away another arm. Try to compete with me in martial arts? Your brain must have been hit by a donkey. He thought to himself in disdain. Was this a high-grade, profound-level Yuan skill taught by Ouyang Hua? I'm sorry, but a casual chop of my axe is a high-grade, earth-class cultivation technique. The axe technique Qin Hao used was called gold-biting 3 axes. As the name implied, there were actually only 3 moves, but each move could destroy an army of 10,000 miles and kill the enemy without leaving a trace. Mount Ibaraki's realm was not as high as Qin Hao's, and his cultivation method was also not as good as Qin Hao's. Chopping off both his arms was expected. What was unexpected was that Yin Baishan had actually tossed over his own weapon. This axe was not bad and could be used to refine it. Qin Hao had benefited from it. Ah, my arm. It's broken again. Mount Ibaraki seemed to be afraid that others would not see his arm fall off as he roared. Both his shoulders were severed, and his bare body swayed on the stage. His eyes were filled with intense fear. He had volunteered to run out and kill Qin Hao for Yuan Huai. In the end, he was the one who was being abused. At this moment, he no longer dared to dream of becoming Ouyang Hua's disciple or becoming Yuan Huai's lackey. He no longer dared to dream of living a good life in the future. This was because Qin Hao raised the axe in his hand again, and a scalp-numbing aura of death rushed towards him. The fear in Mount Ibaraki's heart had reached an extreme. Plop! He knelt down. In the face of death, he was a shameless coward. Senior Qin Hao, please spare my worthless life. Facing Qin Hao, Mount Ibaraki fiercely kowtowed 3 times. In front of the disciples, in front of the dozen or so elders of the outer court, he kowtowed loudly with his head on the ground. His heart was in a mess, and his words were incoherent as he begged Qin Hao to forgive his ignorance. He even begged Qin Hao to treat him like a black fart and let him go. This scene once again flashed the eyes of the audience. Earth Leaderboard 7th. The muscular guy in shorts on the stage was ranked 7th on the Earth roll. Didn't they agree to let Qin Hao die in the arena? Why was Mount Ibaraki kneeling like a black Koei? At this moment, many of the Red Daddy Society members were too ashamed to face anyone. They wished they could find a hole to hide in. Their great leader, the coquettish boss Yan of the outer court, was kneeling in front of a new student who had just arrived 10 days ago. The development of this matter had far exceeded everyone's expectations. No one would have thought that this bloody battle, which was known as a battle to the death, would end with Yin Baishan kneeling and kowtowing. Moreover, the battle seemed to have progressed too quickly. Mount Ibaraki had only made 2 moves. The first move was a domineering swing of the axe, and his arm was broken. The second move was personally taught by the vice principal, and his arm was broken again. With these 2 moves, Qin Hao had completely destroyed Mount Ibaraki's arrogance and taught him how to behave. I've waited for 10 days, but I didn't expect this to be the result. Earth Leaderboard 7th, but he's not as good as a new student. I think the vice principal must have been blind to teach Mount Ibaraki the technique. Mount Ibaraki's comprehension is too poor, and he probably didn't perform well, resulting in the defeat. That's right. If I had learned the kinetic photon ray technique, Qin Hao would have died. The group of disciples had different opinions, and their words were filled with disdain for Mount Ibaraki. At the same time, their faces were filled with jealousy. They had to admit that after this battle, Qin Hao would definitely be in the top 5 of the Earth Leaderboard. Mount Ibaraki was a beginner 6-star origin ancestor, and after being taught by Ouyang Hua, his actual combat strength was comparable to a peak 6-star origin ancestor. Li Tianba, who was ranked 6th, was definitely not Mount Ibaraki's match. Even Naransu, who was ranked 5th, would have to pay a hefty price if she wanted to defeat Mount Ibaraki. On the other hand, Qin Hao had won so easily. Perhaps only the top 3 seniors in the outer yard could suppress this person's rise. It seemed like he would definitely become a core disciple. Of course, the disciples didn't think that Qin Hao would dare to kill Mount Ibaraki. Mount Ibaraki had become Yuan Huai's lackey and was the vice principal's second disciple. Killing Mount Ibaraki was undoubtedly a challenge to the vice principal and senior brother Huai. If Qin Hao wanted to enter the inner yard, he would have to get the letter of appointment from Ouyang Hua. If he killed Mount Ibaraki now, he would be openly making an enemy out of the vice principal. It was obviously unwise. In their opinion, in the next moment, Qin Hao would definitely respectfully help Yan Baishan up. Moreover, he would even apologize like a dog. However, everyone was wrong. Qin Hao wasn't moved by Mount Ibaraki's kowtow and begging. There were no losers in the battle arena, only dead people. Senior brother Qin Hao, I was blind. I shouldn't have stood up for you and Huai. Actually, there is no deep hatred between us. My cousin was also killed by you and Huai. To be honest, I wish I could skin you and Huai alive, chop him up, and feed him to the dogs to avenge my cousin. Chapter 320. The Vice Dean is present. His words attracted a wave of disdain from the crowd. Mount Ibaraki turned hostile faster than one could flip a book. You don't blame me for what happened to your cousin, Qin Hao said coldly. His axe once again flashed with brilliance. No, no, no. In fact, Yuan Huai is my enemy. I think that Yuan Huai is just a dog in front of senior brother Qin Hao. Killing him would dirty your hands. Why don't senior apprentice brother Qin Hao be merciful and spare my life? I'm willing to show my domineering side and kill Yuan Huai. Firstly, it's to avenge my cousin. Secondly, it's to help senior brother Qin Hao. Mount Ibaraki was scared out of his wits. If Qin Hao's axe fell again, he would definitely report to the king of hell. All right, I'll be merciful and end this two-faced, shameless dog's life. Whoosh! Qin Hao swung his large hand, and the light from the axe cut across Mount Ibaraki's neck. Hot blood spurted out from Mount Ibaraki's throat. Mount Ibaraki's eyes bulged as it fell to the ground. Its blood stained the arena and flowed down. Let you go? You're thinking too much. Qin Hao slammed his battle axe into the ground. The one who had died in the end had already been executed. This action caused the disciples below to be extremely terrified. Qin Hao really did crack Mount Ibaraki. Wasn't he a little too bold? Didn't he want to get the mandate of command from Ouyang Hua? This guy. In the crowd, Li Tianba, who was ranked 6th, clenched his fist nervously. Qin Hao killed decisively, and the strength he displayed made him fearful. He felt that Qin Hao was a threat. I'm not as good as him. Naransu exhaled a wisp of fragrance and stroked Nailin, Li's little head. His little sister did not misjudge. Qin Hao is indeed not an ordinary man. In comparison, she seemed to be a little short-sighted. She had once thought that Qin Hao was overestimating himself by challenging Mount Ibaraki to a duel. Now, it seemed that the one who had overestimated herself was Naransu. If the person fighting Qin Hao on the stage was not Mount Ibaraki, but her Naransu, she had no doubt that the blood on the stage would have been shed by her. From today onwards, Naransu, have fallen to 6th place on the Earth rankings. Shaking her head in self-mockery, Naransu smiled helplessly in her heart. As expected of my boss, Qin Hao's victory was within Yi Shuihin's expectations. As expected of my brother, Yuning Chang's jade-like cheeks revealed a mesmerizing smile. Qin Hao's performance once again made her look at him in a new light. In just 10 short days, he had gone from a weak disciple of the Outer Yard's 1-star Yuan sect to an expert who could easily kill the 7th place on the Earth rankings. His improvement was terrifying. Yuning Chang suddenly recalled that Qin Hao's mental strength was as high as the 10th grade. It was not impossible for him to have his current cultivation level if he had taken some elixirs. Even so, Qin Hao's swing of the axe had amazed Yuning Chang. She felt that Qin Hao seemed to know all the techniques in the world, and those techniques could be used to their fullest in his hands. I want to dual cultivate with him tomorrow. Yuning Chang nodded. Qin Hao is a man full of mysteries. With his help, it would definitely be of great help to her. Her voice was very soft as a mosquito's buzz. When she said this, her face couldn't help but turn red, and she was extremely shy. She was a girl, and it was inevitable that she would have physical contact with Qin Hao if she dual cultivated with him. It was really a blushing matter. Not only was she blushing, if the other disciples heard this, there would be thousands of people rushing up to the battle arena and slashing Qin Hao with their swords and sabers. Yining Chang was the outer yard's great elder. Her status was very honorable, and she was also the goddess teacher in the disciples' hearts. She actually wanted to dual cultivate with a freshman. It was simply, after this battle, Qin Hao's core disciple status will not be shaken. He won back his dignity for himself. The core disciple originally belonged to Qin Hao. Old Man Huang, the confused old man, and Xie Sang, who nodded at the same time. They looked at Qin Hao with deep admiration. On the other side, after killing Mount Ibaraki, Qin Hao heard the discussions of the disciples below the battle arena. Some were afraid, some were jealous, and some were gloating over his misfortune. They said that he wouldn't be able to get the mandate letter. Qin Hao didn't pay any attention to him at all. He swept his gaze around and finally found a familiar figure in an inconspicuous corner. He shouted in a cold voice, "Elder Wang, since you're here, why hide? I won this battle. Where's the mandate letter you promised?" 10 days ago, Qin Hao and Wang Dajun made a bet and won Mount Ibaraki. Naturally, Wang Dajun would bring the mandate letter. There were many people present who could prove it, including the various elders. Suddenly, everyone's gaze followed Qin Hao's gaze and found Wang Dajun in the distance with a sinister face. "Oh, you won? Then old man really has to congratulate you. As for the mandate letter, I'm just an elder. How can I deserve it? What qualifications do I have? You should go get it from the vice dean," Wang Dajun said shamelessly. As soon as he said that, Qin Hao frowned and anger rose in his eyes. Wang Dajun was toying with him. However, in the next moment, Wang Dajun opened his mouth again, and his tone became extremely respectful. "Coincidentally, the vice principal is also here today. Qin Hao, why don't you quickly kneel on the ground, clamp your pants, and beg Vice Principal Ouyang to bestow the mandate book to you?" Boom! His words stirred up 1,000 waves. Wang Dajun's words were like a heavy bomb thrown into the crowd, causing an uproar. "The vice dean is here? Where is he?" Many disciples were shocked. The vice dean was a figure who could cover the sky with one hand in the outer yard. It was rare to see him, but he was here. Wang Dajun's words also shocked the other elders. They quickly looked around. Yining Chang immediately became cautious. Ouyang Hua was here in person. While they were talking, a midget figure walked over leisurely with his hands behind his back, his head held high and his chest puffed out. This person's face was round and full of fat. He had a big belly and his body was like a ball. His limbs were short and small, and he was about 1 meter tall. He was originally a very funny person, but his eyes were full of darkness. They were as deep as a pool of black water. No one could see through him, and no one dared to guess. With just a glance, one could tell that this person's confidant was extremely dark, deep, and ruthless. He was the vice dean who could cover the sky with one hand in the outer yard. He was Yuan Huai's master, Ouyang Hua. "Greetings, vice dean. Greetings, vice dean. Greetings, vice dean." Immediately, the outer yard disciples knelt down nervously. The low-level elders also knelt down, and the high-level elders bowed. Although it was a bow, it was extremely respectful. It could be said that once Ouyang Hua showed up, he was like the emperor who ruled the outer yard. Everyone submitted to him. At the scene, only 3 people could remain calm. One was Yining Chang, the other was Yishui Han, and the last was Qin Hao, who was on the stage. Yining Chang and Yishui Han were easy to deal with. They were the great elder of the outer yard, and the other was a good-for-nothing disciple. Yining Chang's position in the outer yard was not much lower than Ouyang Hua's. Yishui Han himself was sloppy and had a fearless look. In short, it was not good for anyone to offend him. Compared to the two of them, Qin Hao seemed a little out of place, especially when he was standing high on the stage. Not only was his expression unchanged, but he did not even have a trace of respect. Chapter 3:21. Not admitting it, there was a vast majesty in his eyes that made people's hearts palpitate. Those with weak minds might even collapse on the spot. Qin Hao didn't react at all. He looked completely relaxed as he crossed his arms and leaned on the handle of the battle axe in front of him with a smile that wasn't a smile. There was a faint trace of contempt in his smile. Amir Weisstein wanted to show off his majesty in front of Dendi? What? Trying to scare me? You're using it in the wrong place. Oyanghua couldn't help but feel angry. Qin Hao was ignoring his majesty. Immediately, this illusory majesty turned into a substantial pressure that enveloped Qin Hao majestically. Orange origin energy fluctuated from his body. Ouyanghua's origin energy was extremely dense, far beyond that of an ordinary mortal saint. This gaze, which was filled with monstrous pressure, allowed Qin Hao to clearly recognize the other party's strength. Profound Sage Realm, 8-star Profound Sage. Qi. His stomach turned, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of Qin Hao's mouth. He swallowed this mouthful of blood, and his eyes were filled with anger. Oyanghua was startled once again. This kid in front of him was ignoring his majesty. He wanted to use 20% of his pressure to make the other party lose face, but Qin Hao was able to withstand it. Oyanghua felt that he had lost face. As the Weisstein, could it be that he couldn't even subdue a 16 or a 17-year-old kid? You're Qin Hao, the 9th stage disciple who made a bet with you in Hawaii? Oyanghua asked coldly in a dead man's voice. Yes. Qin Hao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, neither servile nor overbearing. Very good. Oyanghua nodded, and his voice became even colder. He pointed at Mount Ibaraki's corpse on the stage and asked, "Did you kill him?" Weisstein saw it with his own eyes. Why ask when you already know the answer? Qin Hao secretly urged his origin energy, and the Dragon Whirlpool technique was raised to the extreme. His body flashed with blue light, and his strength increased several times in an instant. Until now, Oyanghua's pressure still hadn't been removed from his body. You got guts. Oyanghua's eyes suddenly flashed, and the pressure in his eyes increased to 40%. The pressure doubled like a heavy mountain fell on Qin Hao's head, and Qin Hao staggered a few steps, leaving 2 footprints on the ground. However, this pressure was not enough to make Qin Hao submit. He grabbed the battle axe with both hands and supported himself against the ground. Oyanghua was startled. He withstood it again? That's 40% of my pressure. Not to mention the outer court disciples. Even low-level elders would probably be scared to the point of peeing their pants under this gaze. However, Qin Hao remained standing on the stage. You're really stubborn. Did you know that Mount Ibaraki announced to the outside world that this lord is his master? Even though Oyanghua didn't acknowledge this disciple, he was implying that Qin Hao couldn't kill him just because he wanted to. The surrounding disciples immediately smiled. As expected, Qin Hao was going to be in trouble. At this moment, the pressure in Oyanghua's eyes increased again, from 40% to 60%. His gaze was sharp, and it was as if 2 balls of light were bursting out from his eyes. Crack! Qin Hao's battle axe suddenly broke from the middle. The battle axe's material was at the level of a low-grade weapon, and it couldn't withstand Oyanghua's gaze. What kind of damage did Qin Hao's body endure? The surrounding disciples couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. If it were them, they would have been smashed into pieces. On the stage, Qin Hao was relying on the support of the battle axe to remain standing. The moment the battle axe broke, he lost his balance. His body swayed, and his legs couldn't help but kneel down. When his knees were only half a foot from the ground, along with the creaking sound of his bones, Qin Hao's bent legs slowly rose up bit by bit. At the same time, blood flowed from his mouth, nose, and ears. Even his eyes were bleeding from the pressure. But he still didn't give in. In the end, he straightened his back in front of everyone. Hiss! The disciples below the stage were all amazed. Even the disciples who used to be jealous and despise Qin Hao couldn't help but admire him. The scene in front of them moved them. Qin Hao was a man. If it were anyone else present, even the low-level elders, they wouldn't be able to compare to him. I killed him. Not to mention Mount Ibaraki. Even if Yuan Huai was standing on the stage, I would still kill him. Qin Hao clenched his teeth and said. His body was trembling like a sieve. What a big tone. Ouyang Hua's patience had reached its limit. With a roar, his fat fists secretly clenched in his sleeves. He was secretly increasing the pressure on Qin Hao. Ouyang Hua, what are you trying to do? A stern rebuke sounded. A white figure stood between Qin Hao and Ouyang Hua. The anger on Yuning Chang's face was self-evident. Ouyang Hua had gone too far. Chang, why are you doing this? What if I hurt you? Ouyang Hua was shocked. He immediately dispersed his aura, and his eyes were full of concern. He could see Qin Hao's disciple as a pig or a dog, but he couldn't bear to hurt Yuning Chang. His affectionate greeting also made the new students understand that the vice principal was also one of Elder Yun's fanatical admirers. However, this vice principal with a fat head and big ears and a short stature was really out of place when he stood together with Elder Yun, who was as beautiful as a fairy. Everyone felt that their eyes were polluted. Vice Principal Ouyang, today's battle was decided 10 days ago. Even if you want to stand up for Yuan Huai, you can't bully a new disciple like this, right? The core disciple position originally belonged to Qin Hao. However, due to Wang Dajuan's obstruction and framing, and because you weren't in the school at that time, Qin Hao had already tolerated a lot and made a lot of concessions. Today, in the battle with Mount Ibaraki, he won fair and square. According to the agreement, you should recognize his identity as a core disciple and write a letter of appointment for the inner yard to review so that Qin Hao could be promoted to an inner yard disciple. The confused old man Huang, and Xiet Sanghu walked forward at the same time and stood in a row behind Yuning Chang. They also blocked Ouyang Hua's aggressive aura for Qin Hao. Ouyang Hua's style was really unbearable. He actually attacked a new student who had just arrived at the school. Agreement? What agreement? Since it's an agreement with Wang Dajuan, what does it have to do with me? Even if it has something to do with me, did you inform me? Did you consider whether I agreed or not? You want to use the letter of appointment to make me recognize Qin Hao as a core disciple? No way. Ouyang Hua said overbearingly. His words were arrogant and domineering, and he refused to admit it. He didn't give the others a chance to speak and continued. According to my disciple, the 9-segment marsh should belong to Huayr, but it was taken away by that villain Qin Hao using despicable means. For this, he even injured my disciple. I didn't even settle the score with Qin Hao, and you still dare to ask me for the letter of appointment? Vice Dean Ouyang, the forest assessment didn't say that we can't take other people's marks. On the contrary, taking marks is a method of the inner yard's assessment. Yuan Huai's skills were inferior, and he lost the mark because he didn't have the ability. Or you can ask him to come out and fight with me. My fellow disciples can be witnesses. If I lose, I don't care about the letter of appointment. Qin Hao suppressed the anger in his heart and said with extreme indignation. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone as shameless as Ouyang Hua. Chapter 322. The fourth on the Earth leaderboard. You want to fight with my Ouyang Hua's disciple? Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have? Ouyang Hua gloomily looked at Qin Hao on the stage. His tone was arrogant and condescending. Qualifications? My boss's imprint is at the 9th phase, and he is a core disciple of this year. Fighting with Yuan Huai is giving him face. Speaking of qualifications, what qualifications did Yuan Huai have? Who does he think he is? Just tell me if you're scared. Yi Shuihan walked over while picking his nose. His fingers kept digging, and with a casual flick of his finger, a black substance stuck to Ouyang Hua's face. Ouyang Hua immediately flew into a rage. He was utterly disgusted. His fat face trembled with anger as he pointed at Yi Shuihan. His gaze was murderous. You, Vice Principal, not only did you bully Qin Hao, you also want to murder this year's outstanding disciples? Don't blame the old man for not reminding you. His surname is Yi. Losing half a strand of hair won't do you any good. On the other side, Old Man Huang had already spoken with a cold expression. Ouyang Hua was stunned for a moment. Then a kind smile appeared on his face, and his arrogance eased a lot. He could not afford to offend anyone from the Luo Shui Empire with the surname Yi. Cut the crap. Today, you must take out the mandate book. If not, I'll ask the old dean for it. If the old dean comes out of seclusion, I'm afraid you won't be happy to see him. In order to let Qin Hao enter the inner courtyard smoothly, Yining Chong had endured too much. It was fine if Ouyang Hua was willing to write the letter today, but if he wasn't willing, then the outer court would be in chaos. Vice Principal didn't allow Yuan Huai to show himself. He must be afraid. Are you afraid of Qin Hao's strength? According to the new junior brothers, Qin Hao once slapped Yuan Huai in front of everyone. He slapped Yuan Huai so hard that he couldn't even fight back. In the end, he ran away with his crotch between his legs. This is a huge scandal for Yuan Huai. Ha ha ha. It was actually such an exciting matter. No wonder the vice principal didn't allow his disciple to show himself. So it turns out that Yuan Huai was beaten into a coward. He's traumatized. The group of disciples whispered to each other, discussing in low voices. Although his voice was soft, it was clearly transmitted to Ouyang Hua's ears. It was extremely harsh. As the discussion grew, Ouyang Hua's face grew uglier and uglier. Everyone, please don't get angry and hurt everyone's feelings. Today's matter is all old man's fault. I shouldn't have made the decision on my own and accepted this battle on behalf of Vice Principal Ouyang. The responsibility lies entirely with me. It has nothing to do with the vice principal at all. When Wang Dajun saw the situation, he hurriedly rushed forward to explain, helping Ouyang Hua take the blame. That's right. I didn't know about the battle between Qin Hao and Mount Ibaraki at all. Therefore, this battle doesn't count. Of course, my disciple didn't come out not because he's afraid of Qin Hao. It's because he caught a cold and is currently recuperating from his serious injuries. During this period, my disciple has improved rapidly. His strength has already reached an unimaginable level. He's only stronger than Kongshan, who's ranked 4th on the Earth leaderboard. As if he was prepared, Ouyang Hua spoke with deep foresight. His expression was like that of an old fox hiding his sword. When did Yuan Huai become a peak 9-star sky great ancestor? He's truly worthy of being the vice principal's disciple. No one can compare to his aptitude. He's more than suitable to be a core disciple. He's not someone who relies on despicable methods, and trash disciples who shoot arrows behind their backs can compare to. Wang Dajun cooperated with Ouyang Hua with great tacit understanding and laughed. On the stage, Qin Hao's heart trembled. From the two's lewd conversation, he could already hear a trace of something fishy. But I, Ouyang Hua, am not someone who bullies others. Since everyone has seen my disciple's strength, why don't we let Kongshan take my disciple's place in the battle? To be honest, it's really too convenient for Qin Hao. After all, Kongshan isn't as strong as my disciple. It's just that my disciple caught a cold at the last minute. Sigh, the heavens are blind. Ouyang Hua shook his head and sighed with a look of pity. It was as if it was everyone's loss that Yuan Huai couldn't come out and show his strength. At the same time, it was also Qin Hao's fortune. Isn't that Kongshan over there? Since you're here, there's no need for old man to look for you. Student Kongshan, you can take Yuan Huai's place in the battle with Qin Hao. Although Qin Hao is ridiculously weak and might not be able to take one move from you, you're not as strong as Vice Principal Ouyang's disciple, Yuan Huai. Wang Dajun's eyes suddenly lit up as he pointed his finger at a certain spot. He didn't even look as he pointed there, as if the heavens had already arranged for Kongshan to wait there. Everyone looked in the direction he was pointing and saw a tall disciple dressed in white. This disciple was around 20 years old and was as straight as a sword. His face was as sharp as a knife, and he was very handsome. He carried a large sword on his back, giving him the vibe of a white-robed sword saint. His appearance was very convincing. In an instant, the battle arena square was in an uproar. The male disciples' eyes were fiery, and the admiration in their eyes was self-evident. The female disciples had already lost their voices and screamed. Many beautiful female disciples were so excited that they almost fainted on the ground. Kongshan, he had been in the academy for 2 years and was a peak 9-star sky ancestor. He was only 1 step away from stepping into the saint stage and was ranked 4th on the Earth leaderboard. In fact, the gap between Naransu, who was ranked 5th on the Earth leaderboard, and Kongshan was huge. Above the 4th place was a watershed on the Earth leaderboard. As for the top 3, they had already entered the saint stage. Usually, it was very difficult to see the top 3 seniors. They were all invincible characters who had transcended mortality and entered the saint stage. Each of them was a legend and had already been reserved by many elders in the inner court. Usually, they would find a secluded place where no one would disturb them to cultivate. If they had free time, they would go down the mountain and wander the pugilistic world to root out the strong and help the weak. It could be said that he was a swordsman from Qian University. In name, Kongshan was already the number 1 person in the outer court. Now, this person in name was preparing to make a move against Qin Hao, a freshman. In fact, when Wang Dajuan spoke, the white-clothed Kongshan had already walked up with a large sword on his back. This made many disciples break out in cold sweat for Qin Hao. This battle was unavoidable. Recently, I have been in seclusion, striving to be like the top 3 seniors on the Earth leaderboard and step into the saint stage as soon as possible. I just came out yesterday and was very lucky to know that there are 2 new juniors in the outer court who are doing well and are respected by others. Immediately, Kongshan also spoke. His words were very cold and arrogant. He had heard that there was a new person in the outer court. It was Qin Hao, who had a 9th phase Gundam imprint and was a new overlord. The other was Yuan Huai, who had been accepted as a personal disciple by the vice dean. Both of them were rare, peerless geniuses. Therefore, he overestimated himself and went to look for Yuan Huai. He also overestimated himself and wanted to give him some pointers. In the end, he really overestimated himself and failed. I'm ashamed to say that I couldn't even take a single move from Junior Brother Huai. I am ashamed to be ranked 4th on the Earth leaderboard. I am afraid that I will have to give up my 4th place. I am afraid that even the 3rd place on the Earth leaderboard may not be a match for Junior Brother Huai. I'm really a joke, Sai. Kongshan laughed self-deprecatingly and appeared very humble. His humble smile was simply like a handsome qilin that had fallen from the sky in the eyes of the new juniors. Immediately, a few people could not bear this charming smile and fainted. Before they fainted, they shouted, "I will not marry anyone other than Kongshan in this life. I want to have monkeys with Senior Brother Kongshan." Immediately, the smile on Kongshan's face became even more charming. Therefore, a few more female disciples fainted on the spot. It was also at this moment that Kongshan's gaze tightened. He coldly glanced at Qin Hao on the stage, his eyes full of contempt. Chapter 323. Translator. Nyoibo, Studio Editor. Nyoibo Studio plotting against me? Plotting against me? Faced with this provocative gaze, Qin Hao's fighting spirit was ignited. He had thought that by defeating Mount Ibaraki, he would be able to clear his name and take back the letter of appointment that belonged to a core disciple. Who would have thought that Ouyang Hua would act shamelessly and refuse to admit it, making Wang Dajuan, that old bastard, take the blame? At this moment, Mr. Kongshan, who was ranked 4th on the Earth leaderboard, suddenly appeared. This person was very arrogant. He thought that the sword god was a handsome man and looked down on Qin Hao for no reason. This was a scheme that had been planned long ago. On the other side, Ouyang Hua nodded in satisfaction when he saw the battle between Qin Hao and Mr. Kongshan. This was the result he wanted. Qin Hao's victory over Mount Ibaraki had indeed exceeded his expectations. He believed that Qin Hao should have died under Mount Ibaraki's kinetic light wave. He had personally taught him that Yuan's skill. Fortunately, he had kept a trump card and found Mr. Kongshan in advance. In order to get Mr. Kongshan to appear, Ouyang Hua had sacrificed a lot and given him many benefits. This was all Yuan Huai's fault. Although Yuan Huai's talent was extraordinary and his current strength had reached the peak of an 8-star sky origin ancestor. He was only 1 star away from Mr. Kongshan. However, he did not dare to fight with Qin Hao. Yuan Huai was even willing to fight to the death with a group of mortal sages. He did not dare to face Qin Hao. As the saying went, there was always someone to defeat someone else. In front of anyone, Yuan Huai would be full of confidence. However, in front of Qin Hao, he immediately became a coward. This was because his ocular techniques were useless against Qin Hao. Ouyang Hua was completely speechless with this disciple of his. He had no choice but to ask Mr. Kongshan to fight. Actually, he wanted to find the first on the Earth leaderboard and directly kill Qin Hao. Unfortunately, with his position as the vice dean, he was unable to restrain the top 3 disciples of the outer court. Those disciples were beyond the control of the outer yard and had caught the attention of the inner yard elders. They would become inner yard disciples in the future. Ouyang Hua couldn't wait to curry favor with them. So how could he dare to give orders? Unless he wanted to be slapped to death by an old monster from the inner yard. And this Lord Kongshan was nominally the #1 disciple of the outer court. He was more than capable of killing Qin Hao. With the death of Qin Hao, the core disciple position naturally fell on Yuan Huai's head. When the time came for him to be promoted to an inner court disciple, Ouyang Hua would also bask in the glory. Ouyang Hua thought so in his heart. He politely said, "Student Sky Peak, there is no need to be modest. In fact, after your fierce battle with Huai last night, he also admires you greatly. He said that it was an extremely difficult victory and that you were just lucky." In the eyes of Old Man, Student Sky Peak is the #1 swordsman in the outer yard. I estimate that after the 4 Great Academies Rising Star competition, you will also be nominated to enter the inner yard. This is truly an extreme honor. It is not something a rookie who just arrived at the school can compare with. Wang Dajuan licked his face to curry favor with Lord Kongshan and did not forget to mock Qin Hao. 4 Great Academies Rising Star competition? Sorry, I don't need to participate in that kind of trash competition. In fact, the inner yard's Elder Chu Jian has already privately accepted me as a disciple. Lord Kongshan was disdainful of the so-called Rising Star competition. That was a stupid competition for rookies who just arrived at the school. And his superb talent in swordsmanship had already caught the eye of an inner yard elder. Aya, Elder Chu Jian is a 2nd-rank elder of the inner yard. To actually accept you as a disciple, Lord Kongshan is truly worthy of being the #1 disciple of our outer yard. When Wang Dajuan heard this, the respect on his face became even more respectful. He wished he could kneel down like a dog. How can I be considered the #1 disciple of the outer yard? Junior brother Huai is the #1 disciple of the outer yard. No, no, no. How could my disciple dare compare with Student Sky Peak? You are #1. Junior brother Huai is #1. You are #1. Junior brother Huai is #1. The 3 people also flattered each other in front of all the disciples present. Their words were incomparably modest. This boasting went on for a full hour. It also made all the disciples feel wronged. When could they be as outstanding as Lord Kongshan and be taken in by an inner yard elder? It was probably impossible in this lifetime. While chatting and laughing, Lord Kongshan exaggerated Yuan Huai's strength by more than 10 times. He did not mention a word about Qin Hao. It was as if in his eyes, Qin Hao was nothing more than a mass of air. A casual fart from him was enough to send Qin Hao back to his hometown in the Jiang Kingdom. Lord Kongshan's modest words also made the disciples present even more envious and adoring. It was simply admiring to the extreme. Not only was senior brother Kongshan's strength tyrannical, he was also so modest and low-key. He was a role model for our generation. At the same time, it also confirmed their belief that Yuan Huai was stronger than Qin Hao. Even senior brother Kongshan was not a match for Yuan Huai. What did Qin Hao count as? Speaking of which, Yuan Huai not appearing today was Qin Hao's fortune. Naturally, this flattery also made Ouyang Hua's heart feel crooked. He sighed in his heart. Should he give Lord Kongshan some more benefits? Firstly, the other party's flattery was wonderful beyond compare. Secondly, he could get close to Elder Chu Jian of the inner yard. Thus, the three people chatted with smiles on their faces for another hour. Qin Hao, who was listening on the stage, had the urge to doze off. Lord Kongshan also saw Qin Hao's rudeness and loudly snorted coldly. So today, I will overestimate myself again and teach the second junior brother. Thinking about it, this junior brother Qin Hao should be as outstanding as junior brother Huai, right? But don't worry, when I, Lord Kongshan, fight you, I will at most use 40% of my strength to prevent others from saying that I am bullying a new student. That's great. My disciple just happened to catch a cold, and Kongshan's strength is about the same as my disciple's. It's reasonable for him to replace Huai, in the battle. How about it, Qin Hao? If you defeat Lord Kongshan, I will immediately give you this letter of appointment. As he spoke, Ouyang Hua's space ring flashed, and he took out a piece of paper. He raised it and waved it at Qin Hao across the air, as if to lure him in. It was obvious that he had written the letter of appointment long ago. The premise was that Qin Hao had to defeat Lord Kongshan to get it. Rumble. The conversation between the two struck the hearts of the disciples like a thunderclap. Lord Kongshan was indeed going to attack Qin Hao. His sword technique was unparalleled in the outer yard. It was rumored that even the top 3 seniors did not dare underestimate him. Even if Lord Kongshan only used 40% of his strength, dealing with a mere 5-star Yuan ancestor like Qin Hao would be as easy as crushing an ant. At this moment, Yuning Chong and the other elders' expressions changed drastically. What was the difference between letting Qin Hao fight a peak 9-star Yuan ancestor and sending him to his death? No. Without waiting for Qin Hao to nod, Yuning Chong refused. I don't agree either. I don't agree. You are clearly working together to trick him. How can Qin Hao be Lord Kongshan's match? Ouyang Hua, do you have any shame? Old man Huang, the confused old man, and Siet Songhu rebuked angrily. Ouyang Hua was extremely sinister. I don't agree either. Yi Shuihan stepped forward, his expression unusually solemn and cautious. Qin Hao could easily defeat He Kuei, who was ranked 9th on the Earth Roll, and kill Mount Ibaraki, who was ranked 7th on the Earth Roll, but he was definitely not a match for Lord Kongshan, who was ranked 4th. Chapter 3:24. Full Strength. You said that you didn't know anything about the battle between Mount Ibaraki and my boss. Could it be that you didn't teach him his kinetic light wave? Also, you keep saying that Lord Kongshan was defeated by you and Huai. Who saw it? Who can testify? Yi Shuihan questioned. Brother Hao, don't be fooled by them, Nailanli said, feeling extremely angry. You dare to doubt me, Ouyang Hua? Ouyang Hua raised his head and stared at the crowd, imperceptibly emitting the dignity of the vice dean, putting on airs. A group of scoundrels. If you're afraid, then be afraid. Not only do you doubt the vice dean, but you also dare to slander my character. Today, I must teach you a lesson. Otherwise, wouldn't it be disrespectful to my master, Elder Chu Jian? Lord Kongshan's face was also filled with anger. Even the inner dean elder wanted to take him as a disciple. From this, it could be seen that he, Lord Kongshan, had a good character, noble character, and was a male god. Many of the surrounding disciples also began to clamor, especially those infatuated female disciples. Between their words, there was a wave of criticism. In the end, the spearhead was all pointed at Qin Hao, saying that Qin Hao did not have the courage to fight Lord Kongshan. From this, it could be seen that Qin Hao was actually inferior to Yuan Huai. All right, I accept this battle. Qin Hao's eyes narrowed. Today, he had to fight even if he did not want to. Fighting was to prove himself. If he did not fight, this dirty water would only get thicker and thicker. In the end, it would implicate everyone and cause his friends to lose face. Moreover, Qin Hao did not fear Kongshan Birdman at all. Qin Hao, don't be a moth to a flame and seek your own destruction. Naransu had already cried out in shock below the stage. If she took out all her strength and trump cards to fight Mount Ibaraki, she was confident of winning. But against the 4th-ranked Lord Kongshan, she probably could not block even one sword. Qin Hao accepted this battle. If this action was not seeking death, what was it? To this, Qin Hao did not respond. He looked at Lord Kongshan and said indifferently, I can fight, but once on the battle stage, do you understand? Of course I understand. Those who ascend the stage, regardless of life or death. But don't be nervous, I won't take your life. At most, I'll cripple your arms as a small punishment. I can also teach you how to behave. You should be more low-key like me. Don't be too arrogant. Lord Kongshan nodded with a smile, appearing very magnanimous. He couldn't help but attract the attention of the surrounding female disciples. They felt that Senior Kongshan was too benevolent. Even if he won, he would not take Qin Hao's life on the martial arena. He was worthy of being called the virtuous Senior Kongshan. This kind of martial spirit was admirable. As for Qin Hao, he should also quickly lower his head and admit defeat to Senior Kongshan. It would be best if he voluntarily cut off his arms to avoid making a fool of himself. As he spoke, Lord Kongshan was already using the wind and cloud steps. It was as if he was invincible under the heavens, and it was hard to find a worthy opponent. Yang Hua, if you win this battle again, will you keep your word and give me the mandate book? As Birdman Kongshan ascended the stage, Qin Hao roared loudly. Of course, I, Yang Hua, am the outer court vice dean. My words are like nails, and my reputation is good. If you win against Lord Kongshan, I will recognize your identity as a core disciple and hand over the mandate book with both hands. Unfortunately, you can't win. As Qin Hao fell into the trap that had already been set up, Yang Hua laughed in spite of his identity. His midget laugh was so ugly that it was full of ugliness. The moment Lord Kongshan ascended the stage, Yuning Chong, Yi Shuihan, and Nalan Li's hearts were also raised to their throats. Their gazes were firmly fixed on the two figures on the stage. They could understand Qin Hao's feelings. This battle had to be fought, but it was extremely dangerous. They could only blame Yang Hua for not being a good person. I will definitely report this matter to the old dean. Yun Ingchong clenched her small hands, gritted her jade teeth, and looked at Yang Hua with a murderous gaze. This was the first time in her life that she hated someone so much. And her mood was actually because of Qin Hao. This made Yining Chong feel that it was a little absurd. On the stage, Qin Hao and Lord Kongshan stood opposite each other with a 5-meter gap. The wind gently blew, blowing the sleeves of the two white figures in their hair. It was as if time had frozen at this moment. The surrounding air was filled with a thick, murderous aura. Brat, do you know how many eyes Horse Prince has on his head? Before making a move, Lord Kongshan coldly asked. I don't know. Qin Hao was expressionless. In fact, he was too lazy to talk nonsense. Actually, I don't know either, but you will know soon. Because you're about to go on a date with Horse Prince, I will stab you to death with a sword and dig a big hole in your heart. This is the result of overestimating yourself and snatching things from Yuan Huai. Lord Kongshan lowered his voice, using a voice that only the two of them could hear. There was no longer a trace of elegance. At this moment, his face was as ugly as an evil spirit. Qin Hao could also be considered to have experienced what it meant to be a beast in human skin. This face was not unfamiliar. It was the same as Gale's. Make your move. Qin Hao's interspatial ring flashed, and 2 pills appeared in his palm. He raised his hand and swallowed them. Just now, he had withstood Shorty Ouyang's pressure and had suffered some internal injuries. As the pills entered his stomach, his pale complexion gradually recovered. This scene caused the disciples below the stage to snort in disdain. Before the fight even began, Qin Hao had already swallowed the pills in advance. Senior Kongshan promised to only use 40% of his strength. Qin Hao actually swallowed the pills. He has no sense of shame. Swallowing the pills is also a waste. I don't think he can block 3 moves from Senior Kongshan. Why 3 moves? 1 move, and he will enter the coffin. Many disciples thought so. The sound of discussion spread to the stage, causing Lord Kongshan to feel incomparably noble. His image became much more radiant. He lightly twisted his sword fingers, and in an instant, the surrounding sword chi surged. Threads of blue chi revolved around his body. The blue chi became denser and denser, like 1,000 sharp swords accumulating power. To deal with you, you are not worthy of me using my sword. I will replace my sword with my finger and cripple your arm first. After he finished speaking, Lord Kongshan's eyes burst with light. He raised his hand, and a sword finger pierced through the air. His target was Qin Hao's arm. He wanted to give Qin Hao a taste of his own medicine and let him have a taste of his own medicine. This was also Lord Kongshan's way of showing off in front of Oyanghua. As his finger fell, Qin Hao's arm flew up. He cried and writhed on the stage. A beautiful scene had already appeared in Lord Kongshan's mind. But when his sword finger shot out, Qin Hao's face was full of disdain. He also shot out a finger beam. Xiao xiao. Two sounds. The finger beam and the sword finger collided and shattered midway. Qin Hao stood steadily, unharmed. This, Lord Kongshan's eyes widened in disbelief. His sword finger actually did not remove Qin Hao's arm. In fact, Qin Hao was not hurt at all. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. It was still the same. Don't act coquettishly in front of everyone. Actually, you don't make me feel threatened at all. Hurry up and show your trump card. If you don't use your full strength, you will only be embarrassing yourself. Qin Hao did not want to waste any more time. Once again, the blue aura on his body flourished. His cultivation level also rose for the second time. Peak 5-star Essence Ancestor. 6-star Essence Ancestor. 6-star Essence Ancestor. 7-star Essence Ancestor. 7-star Elementary Essence Ancestor. 7-star Essence Ancestor. Whoosh. Chapter 325. Sword Realm. I know it too. 7-star Yuan Grandmaster. Qin Hao's true cultivation level is a 7-star Yuan Grandmaster. No wonder he could easily crush He Kuei and kill Mount Ibaraki so easily. In just 10 days, he went from a 1-star Yuan Grandmaster to a 7-star Yuan Grandmaster. Oh my god, this has never happened before in the history of the Outer Yard. Exclamations rose from below the arena. Not only were the disciples shocked, but also the elders who were watching the battle. Even Ouyang-Hua's mouth was wide open like a toad. It was simply unbelievable. To go from 1-star to 7-star in 10 days, what kind of heaven-defying aptitude was this? What kind of powerful mentality was this? This person can't be left alive. Ouyang-Hua clenched his fists nervously, cold sweat rolling down his face. A chill rose from the bottom of his heart, and there was fear in his eyes. Qin Hao's improvement was too fast. Although his speed was slightly slower than Yuan Huai's current strength was an 8-star Yuan Grandmaster. However, his 8-star Yuan Grandmaster had relied on Ouyang-Hua's super spiritual Qi courtyard and the large amount of mysterious crystals provided to rise to that level. On the other hand, Qin Hao, who had been stripped of his core disciple status, didn't have a good courtyard and didn't have the support of tens of thousands of mysterious crystals. Actually, if Ouyang-Hua had handed over the 20,000 mysterious crystals that Yunwan Huai had absorbed to Qin Hao, it was hard to imagine how terrifying his strength would be. Yining Chong bit her lips lightly and looked excitedly at Qin Hao, who was wrapped in blue aura on the arena. It was too unexpected, too pleasantly surprised. On the side, Yi Shuihan shook his head bitterly and thought to himself, so what if he's a 7-star Yuan Grandmaster? Boss is facing Lord Kongshan, who is at the peak of 9-star. It's still hard to say who will win. He's too weak in terms of cultivation level. You're actually a mid-level 7-star Yuan Grandmaster. Lord Kongshan's heart was also extremely shaken. His voice grew louder, his voice rumbling out. Before the battle with Qin Hao, he had read the information 3 times. 10 days ago, Qin Hao was only a 1-star fighter. Therefore, he dared to accept Ouyang-Hua's deal. He believed that he could simply spit on Qin Hao and drown him to death. Who would have thought that it would end up like this? Great. You hid your strength and tricked me. Not only do you have the strength of a 7-star Yuan ancestor, but you also ate some ghost elixir in advance. This ghost elixir must have increased your strength. Speaking to this point, Kong Shanjun looked enviously at Yuning Chong below the stage. He believed that Qin Hao's medicine was a godly medicine given by Yuning Chong. He immediately raised Qin Hao's star by 2 stars. But what he didn't know was that Qin Hao had only taken 2 vitality recovery pills to suppress his internal injuries. Qin Hao was fighting with Lord Kong Shan, who was in his best condition, with his injured body. Since you swallowed the elixir and hid your strength, no one should have any objections if I raise my strength from 40% to 80%, right? After all, Qin Hao is sinister and vicious. Lord Kong Shanjun took a deep breath and suppressed the waves in his heart. At this moment, he regained his confidence. He had underestimated his opponent too much. He only used 40% of his strength and didn't chop off Qin Hao's arm. To be honest, it wasn't considered shameful. The disciples below the stage nodded repeatedly, agreeing with Lord Kong Shan very much. You talk too much nonsense. Qin Hao's injuries were more or less healed. As he stepped forward, the aura on his body trembled and was extremely intimidating. That sharp gaze made Lord Kong Shan Jun involuntarily take a step back in panic. Then, Lord Kong Shan Jun's face was filled with humiliation. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "A mere 7-star Yuan ancestor dares to be arrogant in front of me. This finger will definitely make you kneel and beg for mercy. Break!" With that, 80% of his strength rose, and he released another sword finger. This sword finger was several times stronger than the previous attack in terms of aura. It carried a sword intent and let out a cry. Qin Hao smiled slightly. The next moment, disdain appeared in his eyes once more. A mere illusory sword intent was nothing to worry about. He raised his right hand and channeled the dragon vortex technique in his body. A resplendent blue finger beam condensed, and the golden finger was released again. Swoosh! Swoosh! 2 streaks of light dashed to the opposite side and collided midway. With a deafening sound, a cloud of black smoke exploded in the arena and shook violently. The tremors spread along the ground to the disciples' feet. The soles of their feet went numb and they swayed, lamenting the shocking power of their attacks. However, this time, Qin Hao should be lying in a pool of blood. After all, Kong Shanjun used 80% of his strength. The disciples nodded and believed in their guesses. However, as the black smoke on the stage dissipated, Qin Hao's figure with his arms crossed and a chuckle on his face made the disciples' eyes widen. What? That's impossible. He's not dead yet. Not only is he not dead, but he's also unharmed. The disciples stared at each other and finally looked at Kong Shanjun on the stage. They doubted whether Kong Shanjun's strength as a 9-star Yuan ancestor was fake. Even a 7-star Yuan ancestor like Qin Hao could not take care of him. The doubtful gazes made Kong Shanjun feel extremely humiliated. He could no longer maintain his gentlemanly demeanor and gritted his teeth as he took the sword from his back. I've really underestimated you. Your essence Qi is incomparably pure and of high quality. It's not inferior to an 8-star Yuan ancestor at all. You now have the right to taste my sword. It's time for me to give everyone a real performance. With the sword in his hand, Kong Shanjun felt much more at ease and nodded. He was recognized as a sword Dao prodigy in the outer yard. Elder Chu Jian of the inner yard had taken a liking to his despicable Dao. There was no reason for him to be afraid of a mere 7-star Yuan ancestor like Qin Hao. He was prepared to unleash his strongest technique, blowing snow sword. It's Qin Hao's honor to be able to die in my supreme sword realm. Kong Shanjun adjusted his breathing. At this moment, a sword hum sounded from the sword in his hand. The surrounding temperature began to drop rapidly. Many disciples' faces turned cold. When they looked up, they discovered that snowflakes were falling from the sky. These snowflakes grew thicker as Kong Shanjun's sword intent strengthened. In the end, they covered the entire arena and the 2 people fighting on the stage. It was quite the beauty of a proud expert. However, once this sword was unleashed, there was only one expert left. Do I have the right to make you use your sword? But you You don't even have the right to make me use my sword. Qin Hao extended a finger and waved it disdainfully at Kong Shan Jun. He even shook his head and let out a sigh. This simply made Kong Shan Jun fly into a rage and want to curse out loud. He had seen posturing before, but he had never seen someone like Qin Hao who could still be so cool and calm in the face of death. F***CK your ancestors and disappear. Lord Kongshan finally could not help but curse. His great sword slashed down, sweeping up wind and snow on the ground, forming a giant tornado that bombarded Qin Hao. The tornado was like a giant ice dragon, emitting a dull roar. The impact of the scene was too strong, causing the disciples below the stage to scream. Sword Realm. Senior brother Kongshan has cultivated Sword Realm. No wonder the old man from the inner court took a fancy to him. It's said that Sword Realm experts are like gods who rule the world in their own realm. Senior brother Kongshan is indeed the #1 person in the outer court in name. Even if we cultivate for another 100 years, I reckon we won't be able to cultivate Sword Realm. If Qin Hao can still live, I'll go to the toilet and eat shit. It seemed that the outcome was already decided. The disciples no longer held any hope that Qin Hao could still live. In the next moment, he would turn into a frozen corpse on the ground. Sword Realm? I know it too. Chapter 326. Myths are used to end roar. The dragon roared, and a vigorous flame shot towards Qin Hao when he turned around and waved his sword. It was like a fire dragon that was about 6 meters long. Half of the snow-covered arena melted in the instant the fire dragon took flight. The snow around Qin Hao and behind him turned into water, which evaporated in the sudden rise in temperature. A buzzing sound was heard. A circle of ripples spread out from Qin Hao to a radius of 10 meters. The temperature in this area was unbearably high. Without a doubt, this was a fiery sword realm. Within the sword realm, Qin Hao was the strongest. The fire dragon that flew away also collided with the frost dragon. The two opposing forces met on a narrow path. In the contest between fire and ice, the ice cubes that filled the sky exploded and melted in the raging flames. At this moment, the cries of the frost dragon seemed to ring in everyone's ears. They watched as the wind and snow that swept towards Qin Hao gradually disappeared in the flames. However, the fire dragon that circled the arena was not weakened in the slightest. After annihilating the frost dragon, it pounced and was already in front of Lord Kongshan. However, it did not follow up with another attack. Instead, under Qin Hao's control, it turned around and returned, turning into thousands of flames that burrowed into Qin Hao's body. These were his primordial fires. Qin Hao used his own primordial fires to open a fiery sword realm. Hiss! There was an uproar below the arena. Everyone looked at Qin Hao with eyes that could no longer be described as shocked. Instead, they were filled with fear, reverence, and even submission. He, a 7-star Yuan ancestor, had blocked the attack of a peak 9-star Yuan ancestor. This attack was Lord Kongshan's final trump card, the Sword Realm Path. Ouyang Hua's eyes widened and his fists clenched tightly. It was as if thunder had struck him, and his mind was blank. Qin Hao had blocked it again. Not only had he blocked it, but from the exchange just now, he had enough ability to counterattack and severely injure Lord Kongshan. However, Qin Hao did not. Is this real or not? Yuning Chong said in a daze, staring at the young man on the stage who was famous but not arrogant. Sword Realm. Qin Hao had activated his own sword realm. I can't believe this. Unknowingly, Narance's jade-like hand had already covered her shocked little mouth, and her eyes were filled with trembling. Qin Hao's performance was earth-shattering. On the stage, Lord Kongshan's eyes were empty. He stood there like a fool. As time passed, his body began to tremble, and the trembling became more and more intense. In the end, his entire body trembled as if he had been electrocuted, and he had the urge to pee in his pants. His eyes were filled with intense fear. Plop! Amidst this fear, Monarch Kongshan seemed to have lost all his strength in an instant. He knelt on the ground, and the great sword in his hand fell to the side with a clang. Even now, he could still clearly feel the aura of death that the fire tornado brought with it. He had no doubt that if he had been hit, he would have been crippled even if he had not died. This was secondary. What truly made him feel despair was that Qian Hao had taken 3 of his moves with the strength of a weak 7-star Origin Grandmaster and remained unscathed. Even if he had used his ultimate technique, Blowing Snow Sword, he could not touch Qian Hao at all. Sword Realm. That was Lord Kongshan's Sword Realm. In the entire Outer Yard, he was the only one who had activated his Sword Realm. Even the seniors in the top 3 of the Earth Roll who were stronger than him did not have such extraordinary talent to activate their own Sword Realm. This was Monarch Kongshan's unique pride. Because of this, he was fortunate enough to be chosen by Elder Chu Jian of the Inner Yard, who had groomed him as a disciple. Now, this pride was no longer his alone. This was because another person in the Outer Yard had activated his Sword Realm. This person was standing opposite him. Qian Hao was younger than him, and his cultivation level was lower than his, but he had activated a Sword Realm that was more powerful than his. If Elder Chu Jian of the Inner Yard knew about this, Kongshan's reserved disciple would most likely be replaced. "You are not my match at all." Scram. Qian Hao threw away the axe handle in his hand. Due to the fact that this person was the reserved disciple of the Inner Yard Elder, he did not want to kill him. However, when Qian Hao threw the axe handle on the combat stage, the sound seemed to have shattered Monarch Kongshan's heart. It smashed his dignity, his confidence, and the brilliance of his Prince Charming into smithereens. He had been defeated by Qian Hao. The Outer Yard's nominal number 1, the arrogant Monarch Kongshan, had been defeated. How he yearned to be like the seniors in the top 3 and become an undefeated legend in the Outer Yard. However, Qian Hao had ended his dream, especially that sentence, scram. It caused Monarch Kongshan to suffer torment and humiliation. "Qian Hao, you humiliated me like this today. I want you to die without a burial ground. Heaven and earth infinite. All swords return to the origin." Qian Hao had let Monarch Kongshan go, but that did not mean that Monarch Kongshan would let Qian Hao go. Immediately, he stood up from the ground in a violent rage. His face twisted to the extreme, and he bit the tip of his tongue, spitting a mouthful of blood onto the greatsword in his hand. This greatsword was swiftly enveloped by a layer of dark red devilish light. In a flash, an intense brilliance exploded from the sword tip. At the same time, tens of thousands of illusory sharp swords also condensed from origin energy behind Monarch Kongshan. Although the swords were illusory, each one was hard to block with their sharpness. His meaning was obvious. He wanted Qian Hao to be pierced by 10,000 swords and die a horrible death. Stubborn. Qian Hao originally wanted to leave Birdman Kongshan with his life, but Monarch Kongshan wanted Qian Hao's life. No longer holding back, his interspatial ring flashed, and a blood-colored longsword fell into his hand. He simply raised his hand. Swish! A red line as fast as a flash of light attacked Monarch Kongshan's neck from Qian Hao's hand, extending past. Squelch! A fountain of blood sprayed out. Monarch Kongshan's pupils dilated, his eyes filled with disbelief. He had not even finished condensing his energy, and Qian Hao's attack had already arrived. This speed was too fast, and Monarch Kongshan indeed did not have the ability to receive this sword. Immediately, the origin energy that had not yet condensed on his body dispersed, and the 10,000 sword lights behind him also disappeared. Monarch Kongshan's blood-spurting throat made a gurgling sound, as if he wanted to speak, but his throat was already broken, and he could not speak. However, Qian Hao understood. The other wanted to ask what the name of this sword was. He indifferently replied, "This sword is called Graceful." "All right, I'll have to trouble you to tell me in my dreams. How many eyes does Horse Prince have? Thank you." Thump! Monarch Kongshan's head fell onto the arena, and he closed his eyes in satisfaction. A male god of a generation. Ended here. Kacha kacha. It was as if a bolt of lightning had struck down from the 9 heavens, striking each person's head, causing their hearts to violently tremble, and their breathing to frantically quicken. Monarch Kongshan died? He had used 3 moves in a row, boasting that he would cripple Qin Hao's arms. In the end, he could not block a single sword. The reversal of the situation did not conform to common sense, especially those female disciples who admired Monarch Kongshan. A moment ago, they were still cheering for their male god, and in the next second, their male god was dead. But compared to the shock caused by Qin Hao at this time, an even more intense terror spread into each person's heart. The disciple chosen by Elder Chu Jian of the inner court was killed by Qin Hao. Good. Qin Hao, you are extremely daring, maliciously provoking an inner court elder's disciple, and using despicable means to massacre him. Monarch Kongshan was benevolent and righteous, and only used 80% of his strength. He originally wanted to exchange pointers with you, but you shamelessly took the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Where's the enforcement team? Chapter 327. So what if I bully you? Numerous figures rushed towards Qin Hao's position. Their movement techniques were extremely fast. Xiao xiao, sounds of breaking through the air resounded in the arena, causing everyone to be unable to react in time. Rushing towards Qin Hao was a group of silver-robed enforcers. Every enforcer's strength had reached the level of a mortal saint. One of the captains even had the strength of a 5-star mortal saint. Qin Hao would not be able to escape this calamity. They moved quickly, but one person moved even faster. Yining Chang's figure twisted, and she was already standing on the arena, standing in front of Qin Hao. With a wave of her small hand, an orange light burst out from her body, mixed with rolling flames. With a sweep, the group of silver-robed enforcers that were rushing over were sent flying. All of them were crying out in pain as they fell to the ground one after another. One move to defeat a group of mortal saints. Ying Chong, what is your relationship with Qin Hao? Is he worth your protection? Do you know the consequences of offending Elder Chu Jian? Ouyang Hua spoke, his heart trembling. Lord Kongshan had died an unnatural death in the outer court. The inner court's Chu Jian would definitely not let this matter rest. When the time came, he would be enraged and no one would be able to escape. Someone had to be the scapegoat, and Qin Hao was the best choice. I don't care if it's Chu Jian, Song Dian, or Lightning. Even if the vice president came personally, as long as I, Yining Chong, am here, they can forget about harming Qin Hao. He is my brother. Yining Chong stood in front of Qin Hao like a mountain. She was so angry that her face was slightly red. Traces of warmth flowed into his heart, causing Qin Hao to feel touched. He stood out from behind Yining Chong and pointed at Ouyang Hua fearlessly. Shorty Ouyang, you don't have to use the inner court elder to scare me. You also don't have to frame me. I don't care about life and death on the arena. Moreover, I've already shown mercy to Lord Kongshan. It's him who doesn't know the difference between life and death. I believe that all the junior brothers and senior brothers present can see this. Qin Hao could have killed Lord Kongshan, but he withdrew his sword realm in time. I can also testify that it was Lord Kongshan who insisted on seeking death. Qin Hao has already shown mercy. Old Man Huang's son, the confused old man, Xie Sanghu, and the other elders stood out. The other elders and some of the disciples also nodded. Everyone had clearly seen the fight just now. Qin Hao had indeed shown mercy. Moreover, so what if he didn't show mercy? Qian University's rule was that no one cared about life or death once they stepped into the arena. Presumably, even the elders of the inner court couldn't break this rule. Ouyang Hua, it's time for you to take out the mandate book, right? Qin Hao extended his hand in Ouyang Hua's direction. His gaze was unquestionable. Ouyang Hua had already acted shamelessly for the first time. The second time, he had personally made a promise. Every word of his was a nail. Take out the mandate book. Yishui Han stepped forward. That's right, take it out. Nayland Li said, I hope the vice dean will keep his word and not lose your status as a senior. At this moment, Naransu no longer hesitated and stood up firmly for Qin Hao. Qin Hao had repeatedly created miracles and had won her respect and even admiration. Mandate book? What mandate book? Ouyang Hua's face was blank. He pretended not to know and wanted to deny it. Ouyang Hua, don't bully me too much. It's the mandate book in your hand. Qin Hao endured and endured. Even with Dinda's temperament, he couldn't stand Ouyang Hua's untrustworthy style. The mandate book in my hand. Ouyang Hua was startled. Immediately, his fat hand rubbed the mandate book in his hand into a ball of paper and threw it into his mouth. He chewed a few times and swallowed it. Then he spread out his hand and said, "The mandate book. Where is it?" You. Yining Chong was so angry by this shameless action that she almost vomited blood. She angrily pointed at the short man below. Ouyang Hua was really shameless to the extreme. In the first battle, he said that he wasn't at the scene and didn't admit it. He even let Wang Dajuan carry the bucket of shit away. In the second battle, he personally promised that as long as he defeated Kong Shanjun, he would admit Qin Hao's identity as a core disciple and hand over the mandate book. But now, Ouyang Hua once again went back on his word and shamelessly ate the mandate book. Who said that every word is a nail? Who said that his reputation was good? I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen someone like you who is worse than a pig or a dog. Is this the vice dean of Qiyang University? You've really opened my Qin Hao's eyes. The violet meteorite sword in Qin Hao's hand was already creaking. The blade shone with a strong blood-red light. Bully me. Suppress me. Humiliate me. I can endure it. I will use my actions to prove to all of you who is more qualified to become a core disciple. But again and again, you refuse to admit it and act shamelessly in front of me. I absolutely cannot tolerate it. Oh, little brat, you're still anxious? Do you want to bite me? If I don't give it to you, what can you do? The old dean isn't here. If I don't agree, you'll never be able to enter the inner courtyard. What can you do to me? You mischievous disciple have no respect for your elders and insulted me by calling me a short man. What can I do if I eat your mandate book? Moreover, I heard that a few days ago, you used the medicine tower as a cover to sell fake medicine in the outer courtyard's killing zone. You've harmed many people. Many disciples have already complained to me. You still want the mandate book? Let me tell you, no way. Ouyang Hua laughed sinisterly. He pointed at Qin Hao, who was on the stage, and shouted, "Everyone, come take a look. This person killed a disciple designated by an elder of the inner courtyard, which is already a heinous crime. He even used the name of the medicine tower to sell fake medicine, which is even more unforgivable. This kind of behavior is too vile. Qiyang University absolutely won't allow it. I'm now using the name of the outer courtyard's vice dean to kill this thief on the spot. I presume that no one has any objections, right? Since no one has any objections, I'll enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Qin Hao, prepare to die." Ouyang Hua didn't give anyone time to respond. His meatball-like body suddenly bounced up from the ground. He raised his fat palm and slapped it toward Qin Hao. The strength of an 8-star profound sage completely erupted. He didn't give Qin Hao any chance of survival. This scene caused everyone to cry out in alarm. Ouyang Hua acted too quickly. As the vice dean, he attacked his disciple without any hesitation. Yining Chong didn't even have time to react. Was this still the style of a vice dean? Moreover, even if Yining Chong had reacted, it would have been too late. She wasn't Ouyang Hua's opponent at all. "I have an objection." A muffled groan slowly came from afar. The voice was extremely old, like smoke drifting in spirals. However, this seemingly weak voice was like a giant's palm. With a bang, it slapped Ouyang Hua's mouth. Ouyang Hua hadn't even rushed in front of Qin Hao when he fell below the stage. His face was swollen, and his mouth was 3 fingers thick. He looked like a pair of sausages, which made him look very funny. Which be asterisk starred plotted against me. Get the hell out here. It's Yao Lao. Ouyang Hua pays respect to Yao Lao. Ouyang Hua was originally furious. He opened his mouth and cursed wildly. In the end, before he could curse, he saw a skinny old man slowly walking in his direction with his hands behind his back. Chapter 328. The gift of sainthood. If there was anyone in the outer yard that should not be provoked, it would be Yao Lao, the guardian of the medicine tower. Yao Lao's identity was extremely mysterious and could not be verified from the files of the outer court. But there was one thing that proved how terrifying he was. A few years ago, there was an elder who went to the medical tower to get medicine. He put on airs and refused to pay. Between his words, he fiercely insulted Yao Lao. As everyone knew, Yao Lao's slap had caused the elder to suffer from Alzheimer's disease. This matter had caused an uproar among the upper echelons of the outer yard, and they wanted to punish Yao Lao. Ouyang Hua was the one who suggested severe punishment. But in the end, not only did he fail to subdue Yao Lao, but OLM's fists also rained down on Ouyang Hua's head. The barrage of attacks caused Ouyang Hua to scream for a long time. After the old dean beat up Ouyang Hua, he still bowed and nodded in front of Yao Lao like a coward and asked, "Are you satisfied with what I did?" At that time, all the senior elders present were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out. Ouyang Hua also had nightmares for several days. In his dreams, he was often scared awake by Yao Lao, and then he would cover his face and cry bitterly. After this incident, no one dared to disrespect Yao Lao anymore. After all, the old principal was as obedient as a grandson in front of this old man. But today, Yao Lao came again. Oh my God, he had been guarding the medicine tower for decades, and this was the first time he took the initiative to come out. Also, why was his face so dark? His eyes seemed to be spitting fire. Did someone offend him again? That was really someone's disaster. Ouyang Hua had already begun to sigh in sorrow for offending Yao Lao. As Yao Lao walked over, the scene instantly quieted down. It was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. Everyone clamped their pants and lowered their heads, not daring to look into the old man's eyes. Everyone was afraid that their disrespectful gaze would arouse the old man's dissatisfaction. Only Qin Hao laughed. He laughed without any scruples and said, "Old man, why did you come out? Are you looking for me to chat? Or to give me medicine for free?" Qin Hao also said with a cheeky smile. Crack! Lightning flashed in their hearts. Everyone heard Qin Hao's rude laughter. Their mouths were wide open in extreme horror, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Qin Hao, this fellow, didn't know life from death. Yes, I wanted to talk to you. I heard that there's a villain who's using my name to sell medicine in the outer court. Alas, my medical tower's business is not doing well. Who will pay for the losses? Yao Lao jokingly scolded as he walked over. He then shakily walked up the stone steps to the battle arena and arrived beside Qin Hao. His eyes flickered with a sharp light. That thief selling fake medicine is Qin Hao. You found the right person, haha. Below the stage, Ouyang Hua was so happy that he was spitting saliva while laughing. When he killed Qin Hao, he had some misgivings in his heart. He was afraid that he would anger Yuning Chong because of this. If he killed Qin Hao and caused Ying to be unhappy, it would cause their relationship to break down. It would be heartbreaking for him. But now, Yao Lao wanted to settle the score with Qin Hao. Yes, this Qin Hao was dead for sure. There was no one who dared to sell fake medicine in the name of the medical tower. Even Ying couldn't save you this time. Ouyang Hua thought so in his heart. Senior Yao Lao, my younger brother has just entered the academy. He's young and doesn't know any better. I hope you can be merciful. Yuning Chong was shocked. She quickly bowed and apologized on behalf of Qin Hao. If Yao Lao wanted to make things difficult for Qin Hao, she would be powerless. Ying, how can you not take pity on yourself? You're willing to offend Yao Lao for Qin Hao? You've really disappointed me. Ouyang Hua shook his head. His eyes were full of smiles. He felt so good in his heart. This time, no one could save that little bastard Qin Hao. Senior Yao Lao, Qin Hao is extremely talented in archery. He's a good seedling among the outer core disciples. I hope you can be merciful. Senior Yao Lao, Qin Hao also knows the Tao of spiritual arrays. The heavens are really blind for him to die at such a young age. Sir Yao Lao, Qin Hao has a close relationship with Yi Shuihan. I hope you won't make things difficult for him for Yi Shuihan's sake. At the very least, let him live. If you insist on breaking his legs, then I can only say that you can do it. Offending Yi Shuihan won't do you any good. That's right, I'm Yi Shuihan. Qin Hao is my boss. You old man, who looks like you're not easy to deal with, only need to know that my surname is Yi. Suddenly, a large group of people rushed over and stood below the stage to plead for Qin Hao. Siet Sanghu praised Qin Hao's archery skills. The muddle-headed old man said that Qin Hao knew the Tao of spiritual arrays. Old man Huang also lowered his stance and pleaded for Qin Hao because of his special status. As for Yi Shuihan, he was already shouting without restraint. In short, everyone kept pleading. In the face of everyone's pleas, Ouyang Hua was naturally displeased. Extremely displeased. What did Qin Hao do to make so many elders speak up for him? However, when he saw that Yao Lao was indifferent, a bright smile bloomed on his face. Who was Yao Lao? The old dean didn't even dare to make a sound when he crippled an elder. Why would he let go of a mere Qin Hao for you? That was absolutely impossible. However, Ouyang Hua felt as if he was struck by lightning. Here, this is for you. Yao Lao ignored everyone and raised his hand to throw something to Qin Hao. It was a herb with only 4 leaves and a purple stem. As soon as the herb was in his hand, a light medicinal fragrance quickly spread. It moistened one's heart and was intoxicating. Yun Ing Chang's delicate body trembled. She said in disbelief, "Holy violet orchid. Panacea? Oh my God." Boom. It was as if a bolt of lightning had struck. The herb that Yao Lao gave to Qin Hao was a panacea. The holy violet orchid was extremely precious and could only be consumed when one entered the sage stage. Anyone below the sage stage would definitely die if they consumed it. This herb could only be produced in the Medicine Valley. It could be said that it was the only one in the entire Luoshui Empire. Moreover, it had 4 leaves, which meant that it was a 400-year-old holy violet orchid. This was the best of the best. If a disciple who had just entered the sage stage consumed it, his strength would probably increase by 5 stars instantly. However, this priceless holy violet orchid was casually given to Qin Hao by Yao Lao. At this moment, the disciples below looked at Qin Hao strangely. Who was this person? Even Yao Lao gave him a free herb? As for Ouyang Hua, his heart had already fallen into a bottomless abyss. Judging from the scene in front of him, Yao Lao was not here to teach Qin Hao a lesson. He was here to show off, and the person who would suffer would undoubtedly be Ouyang Hua. Immediately, a wave of fear swept through Ouyang Hua's body like a prairie fire. In fact, Yao Lao had already opened his mouth. Why are all of you so nervous? I feel like old friends with this kid at first sight. I quite admire him. Also, we have an agreement. If he is willing to chat with me, I will give him something for free. At this point, Yao Lao's gaze landed on Qin Hao again. He nodded and praised. I haven't seen you for 10 days, and you have improved so quickly. Looks like the 3 herbs that I sold, you had a great effect. But more importantly, it is your hard work. You are about to enter the sage stage. Are you satisfied with this holy violet orchid? Can you sacrifice some of your time and condescend to chat with me for a while? Ha ha ha. Yao Lao suddenly laughed out loud. His words sounded as if he was begging Qin Hao. This scene caused more than 700 disciples below the stage to collectively faint. Chapter 329. 3 slaps just by chatting with Yao Lao. He would give her medicine for free? If there's such a good thing, why don't you come and find us? We'll be happy to chat with you. What's more, Yao Lao, who had a straight face, was smiling. It was rumored that Yao Lao, who had not smiled for decades, was smiling like a deity in front of everyone. This was already extremely terrifying. However, everyone also learned that Qin Hao's cultivation was single-handedly cultivated by Yao Lao. It was he who sold Qin Hao 3 stalks of medicinal herbs, allowing the other party to possess the strength to frighten kneeling Heikue, kill Mount Ibaraki, and defeat Lord Kongshan. So that was how it was. At this moment, everyone finally woke up. No wonder Qin Hao was so strong. With Yao Lao as his backing, how could he not be strong? He gave away another 400-year-old Saint Violet Orchid as a gift. There was no one else like him. Other people worked hard to reach the Saint level, and then climbed up step by step from the Saint level. As for Qin Hao, Once he became a saint, his strength would instantly increase by several times. At this moment, no one doubted that Qin Hao was about to become #1 on the Outer Court Earth rankings. It was rumored that the senior who ranked first on the Earth leaderboard was only a 3-star mortal saint. Qin Hao could easily surpass his opponent. This was the benefit of having Yao Lao backing him up. What they didn't know was that apart from the medicinal herbs provided by Yao Lao, Qin Hao's current strength also had a hidden secret, which was refining weapons into his body. A 400-year-old Saint Violet Orchid? It's SOSO. Qin Hao smiled and did not stand on ceremony. He kept the Saint Violet Orchid into his spatial ring for future use. His words caused everyone to roll their eyes again. A sacred medicine that could instantly raise his cultivation to 5 stars of mortal saint was still considered mediocre? Why don't you let us give it a try? Yao Lao, Qin Hao, that scoundrel, stole your name and ran amok in the outer yard. He sold fake medicine and harmed many disciples. Which bastard told you that Qin Hao stole my name? Not allowing Ouyang Hua to frame him, Yao Lao spoke out in a dignified manner. His eyes flashed with a sharp light as he intimidatingly said, I was the one who ordered Qin Hao to sell the medicine. Actually, the people I'm most worried about are the weak and toiling masses in the slaughter zone. As for whether the medicine was fake, are you suspecting me? Junior doesn't dare. Ouyang Hua broke out in a cold sweat. He originally wanted to blame Qin Hao, but he never thought that Yao Lao would personally testify for Qin Hao. However, he was still unwilling to give up. He continued, but Qin Hao also stole Elder Yun's Jade Palace. He's really audacious and has no regard for the rules of the school. He doesn't deserve to be a student of Qiyang University. In my opinion, this rascal should be Ouyang Hua. Do you have any shame? Yining Chong roared, interrupting him. She had already explained the matter of stealing the Jade Palace in the outer court. The Jade Palace was given to him by her. Ouyang Hua still wanted to bring up the old score. How much did he hate Qin Hao? Steal? Yao Lao sneered and extended his hand towards Qin Hao. Give me the Jade Palace. Qin Hao didn't think too much. He took out the Jade Palace and handed it to Yao Lao. Yao Lao held the Jade Palace in his hand. His mind was filled with thoughts. He took a deep breath and looked at Ouyang Hua. Now, try and see if you can steal the Jade Palace from my hands. Or will you die into my hands? Ouyang Hua's expression changed drastically. His heart trembled. Although Xiao Chun did not know exactly how strong Yao Lao's cultivation was, he was definitely stronger than Ouyang Hua's senior brother. He was definitely a heavenly sage expert. Ouyang Hua was just a small, profound sage. How could he be a match for a heaven sage powerhouse? Aren't you sending me to my death? You have the face to say that? Yao Lao snorted, his eyes filled with disdain. As an 8-star profound sage, you don't even have the guts to steal the Jade Palace from me. Qin Hao is just a weak sky origin ancestor. How could he steal the Jade Palace from Lil Yun's hands? Moreover, I heard that Qin Hao was only a sky origin ancestor before he entered the school. Yao Lao, have mercy. Plop. Ouyang Hua knelt down. He no longer dared to bite people, let alone talk back to Yao Lao. Qin Hao had Yao Lao as his backer. Once this old thing got angry, even 10 Ouyang Huas would be dead. The outer court is getting more and more outrageous. A mad dog can also become the vice dean. Could it be that I have to come out and clean it up? If that's the case, I won't be polite. After saying that, Yao Lao's aura surged. Surging waves of origin energy raged out, and the orange light on his body was incomparably intense. Within that orange light, there was a faint red color. Red origin energy was the symbol of a sky origin king. This scene shocked everyone to the point that they were out of their wits. A sky origin king expert? Heavens! The old man guarding the medicine tower was actually a sky origin king expert. Although the red light was faintly discernible, it was indeed there. At this moment, Yao Lao's shriveled palm had already condensed a ball of terrifying origin energy. As he raised his hand, the origin energy fell on Ouyang Hua's head. My life is over. Ouyang Hua screamed miserably. Buzz. There was a scream, and a purple shadow swept over from the mountain peak far away. Its speed was unbelievably fast, and its aura was monstrous. Before Yao Lao could finish his attack, the purple shadow had already landed in the field and blocked in front of Oyanghua. It was also an old man. His face was ruddy, and his white beard fluttered in the wind. His upright and plain-spoken face was imposing. More importantly, he was wearing a purple robe. A purple robe was unique in the entire outer court. The old man in the purple robe stepped into the field. His eyes were full of arrogance, as if he did not care about anyone. Only when he looked at Yao Lao did he have a trace of imperceptible respect. However, he did not say anything. He immediately raised his hand and slapped Oyanghua's face. This slap was extremely ruthless. 2 broken teeth flew out of Oyanghua's mouth, and blood flowed out of his mouth. This slap also sent Oyanghua's meatball-like body flying 10 meters away. Oyanghua did not even dare to cry out in pain. He quickly ran back and knelt in front of the old man in the purple robe. Slap! The old man in the purple robe raised his hand and slapped Oyanghua again. This time, a few more teeth flew out of his mouth, and he was sent flying again. Just like before, Oyanghua immediately ran back and knelt on the ground. No one else could do this. Slap! The 3rd slap landed. This slap was so ruthless that Oyanghua's face was deformed. His neck stretched out more than half a foot, and his eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. He fell to the ground and rolled nonstop. His originally dignified clothes instantly became tattered, and he did not stand up for a long time. However, Oyanghua still did not dare to cry out in pain. His hands clasped the stone slab, and his 5 fingers trembled. He used all his strength to crawl back to the old man in the purple robe. A trace of heartache flashed across the old man's face. He turned his head and looked at Yao Lao pleadingly. When he saw Yao Lao waving his hand, he fiercely shouted at Oyanghua, "Go back and reflect on your mistakes." Scram! After speaking, the old man in the purple robe did not give anyone time to react. He jumped up and swept toward Qin Hao. He lifted Qin Hao's shoulder and disappeared into the distant clouds like a rock. Oyanghua, on the other hand, scrambled to his vice dean's courtyard without even looking back. He looked extremely pathetic. Chapter 330. The old dean stepped into the picture. He could bite people all over the world like a mad dog, and he could also treat anyone with disdain. There was only one person that Oyanghua only had respect in his eyes. That was the old dean of Qiyang University, Ouyang Hong. Ouyang Hong was the adopted son of the previous dean and was also Ouyanghua's senior. He was the only person in the world who did not despise or mock Oyanghua. He was also the only person who treated him like a brother. In Oyanghua's heart, his senior brother Ouyang Hong was his big brother, his only family in the world. Today, his senior martial brother came out of seclusion because of Qin Hao. In front of Yao Lao, he personally slapped Oyanghua 3 times. This caused Oyanghua's heart to feel extremely wronged. His senior apprentice brother had never been so cruel as to hit him. He had only taught him a lesson twice. The first time was for Yao Lao. Back then, Yao Lao had crippled an elder, and Oyanghua had proposed to severely punish Yao Lao. In the end, he had received a round of punches and kicks from his senior brother. The second time was today. Today, Oyanghua understood that with his senior apprentice brother's appearance, he would not have the chance to make a move on Qin Hao in the future. Qin Hao would also be able to smoothly obtain the letter of appointment from his senior brother and become a true outer yard core disciple. This was already destined. At this moment, even if Oyanghua was given 100 guts, he would not make things difficult for Qin Hao. Since he couldn't make things difficult for Qin Hao, he could only go home and make things difficult for Yuan Huai. If it weren't for Yuan Huai, Oyanghua wouldn't have to go back on his words today and become a joke in the outer yard. If it weren't for Yuan Huai, he wouldn't have become a clown in front of Yining Chong. If it weren't for Yuan Huai, he wouldn't have been slapped by his senior martial brother for nothing. It was all Yuan Huai's fault. Of all people, he just had to pick a fight with Qin Hao. Qin Hao had the invincible Yao Lao's back. See if I don't beat you to death. The purple-robed old man gave Ouyang Hua 3 slaps and disappeared into the distance with Qin Hao. The disciples present were very puzzled. F*******. Who on earth was this purple-robed old man who looked so awesome? The vice principal was beaten to the point that he crawled like a dog, not daring to complain at all. Also, why did he grab Qin's senior martial brother? Senior martial brother, senior martial brother, senior martial brother, senior. After all, these seniors who had been in the academy for 2 years had never seen this domineering purple-robed old man in the outer court. Only Yuning Chong and the senior martial elders present smiled and didn't say anything. They knew that this purple-robed old man was the mysterious senior martial brother of the senior martial brother, Ouyang Hong. I'll say the ugly words first. You can take him away, but Qin Hao and I have an agreement to have a good chat. If he loses half a strand of hair, don't blame me for being ruthless. From afar, Yao Lao shouted at the purple-robed figure that was about to disappear. As soon as he said this, everyone saw that the purple-robed figure flying in the air swayed violently, as if he had the urge to fall. F***CK. It turned out that the more powerful person in the senior martial brother Yao Lao was the guard of the medicine tower. As Qin Hao disappeared, the disciples in the arena square shook their heads and dispersed. Today was indeed a joyous day. He Kuei was scared to his knees and was exposed as a bandit. The 7th-ranked Mount Ibaraki was directly killed by Qin Hao. Even the 4th-ranked Kongshan was not a match for Qin Hao's sword. The rise of Qin Hao had already become an indisputable fact. After all, he still had the sacred medicine that Yao Lao had gifted him. It was only a matter of time before he became the #1 disciple in the outer yard. At the same time, far away, on the roof of an extremely tall wooden building, 3 figures stood tall and straight like swords as they watched the purple-robed figure take Qin Hao away. Their eyes were filled with respect. These were 3 young men. All of them had imposing appearances and extraordinary temperaments. If there were any disciples present, they would have screamed out in shock. This was because they were the top 3 seniors in the outer yard. All of them were invincible legends. It turned out that the 3 seniors were also secretly watching Qin Hao's match. The one on the left, wearing green clothes, was the 3rd in the outer yard. Spear Saint Lao Yuanliang. The one on the right, wearing yellow clothes, was the 2nd in the Earth leaderboard. Saber Saint Ma Rulong. The one in the middle, wearing purple clothes, was the well-deserved #1 in the outer yard. He was also the strongest in the outer yard, Sword Saint Lin Feng. However, his #1 position was probably going to be changed. In fact, Saber Saint Ma Rulong had already opened his mouth and sighed. Lin Feng, I'm afraid you won't be able to hold on to your #1 position. Hee hee. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. How could he not know? Just based on the Saint Violet Orchid that Yao Lao had gifted to Qin Hao, the #1 legend in the outer yard would definitely become Qin Hao in less than a month. I have to hold on even if I can't. Junior Qin Hao is indeed extraordinary. He is deeply loved by Elder Yun and has the support of Yao Lao. However, I, Lin Feng, will never admit defeat so easily. A ball of battle intent ignited in Lin Feng's eyes as he secretly clenched his fists. The jade sword on his back also faintly let out an excited cry, as if it was looking forward to the battle between its owner and Qin Hao. Lin Feng had also awakened his own sword realm a few days ago. It was called Sword Blade Storm. He didn't think that his Sword Blade Storm would lose to Qin Hao's raging fire sword realm. I think the 2 of you are overthinking. That Kongshan Jun is arrogant and spread rumors everywhere. He wants to compete with us in every aspect. However, how can an egomaniac like him be compared to the 3 of us? In my eyes, Kongshan Jun is like trash. Moreover, Qin Hao is only a 7-star Yuan ancestor now. He can't even withstand a single blow. If he fights with me, I will poke hundreds of holes in his body and teach him how to respect his seniors. On the contrary, Spear Saint Lao Yuanliang was full of disdain for Qin Hao. He even secretly stroked the long spear on his back, as if the long spear was already unable to endure the thirst and couldn't help but want to drink Qin Hao's blood. Lin Feng and Ma Rulong looked at Lao Yuanliang as if they were looking at an idiot. With a cold snort, they disappeared in a flash. Kong Shanjun was usually arrogant, but he did have the capital to be arrogant. He had awakened a sword realm that even Ma Rulong couldn't do. Moreover, Kong Shanjun wasn't an ordinary 9-star Yuan ancestor. If he was mediocre, why would the elders of the inner court take a fancy to him? Kong Shanjun's true strength was probably not much weaker than a 1-star mortal saint. However, he had been easily killed by Qin Hao, as if he were slaughtering a chicken. Even Lin Feng didn't see clearly how Qin Hao had attacked with his sword. Spear Saint Lao Yuanliang was only a 1-star mortal saint. Qin Hao probably had the qualifications to fight with Lao Yuanliang given his current strength as a 7-star Yuan ancestor, let alone when he became a sage. Moreover, the person who would emerge victorious in the end would most likely be Qin Hao. This was Lin Feng's and Ma Rulong's true thoughts. Two cowards. Both of you are trash. Lao Yuanliang was extremely dissatisfied with Lin Feng and Ma Rulong's performance. He spat and looked in the direction where Qin Hao had disappeared. Qin Hao, I will let you know the difference between you and me. Naransu can only belong to me, Lao Yuanliang. Just wait for your death. After speaking, Lao Yuanliang looked at Naransu, who was in the crowd below. When he saw the beautiful figure, his entire heart melted. He had pursued Naransu many times, but was rejected every time. But the gaze that Nailan looked at Qin Hao today was actually filled with admiration. This made Lao Yuanliang very unhappy. This unhappiness would soon turn into action. He had to let Naransu understand who was more outstanding between him and Qin Hao, who was more qualified to win Naransu's heart. Plop! In the sky, Qin Hao felt his body lighten and fell to the ground. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and supported himself with both hands in the nick of time to prevent his face from sticking to the mud. Otherwise, he would really make a fool of himself. At this moment, he patted his clothes and looked angrily at the purple-robed old man opposite him. The purple-robed old man was too uncivilized. He grabbed him for no reason and threw him to the ground. Then he sat down on a rock. He even closed his eyes. If you have time, go to the medicine tower more often to chat with him. If you beg me, I might go if I'm in a good mood. Qin Hao folded his arms and said with a grin, Don't be rude. Ouyang Hong's old face collapsed. He put on a dignified appearance and then shook his head as if he couldn't scare Qin Hao. He clenched his hand into a fist and covered his mouth with his white beard. He coughed twice and was ready to reveal his identity. You little brat are lawless. Do you know who the old man is? What? Do you also want to make a bet with me? Qin Hao smiled playfully. Ouyang Hong felt a chill in his heart. He rolled his eyes and shook his head. The old man won't be fooled by you. I don't have any treasures to give you. To tell you the truth, I'm the dean of the outer yard. Sigh, you really don't have the guts. You're far from Yao Lao. Qin Hao sighed. He wanted to blackmail the old man, but the old man didn't give him the chance. Wearing a purple robe, heavenly saint-tier cultivation base, slapping the vice dean 3 times, but Ouyang Hua didn't dare to say anything. I saw the other elders looking at you with respect. In fact, I already guessed that you're the dean. I don't have much time. I need to go back and cultivate. Did you bring me out to give me the mandate book? Hurry up and take it out. Qin Hao reached out his hand to Ouyang Hong. I know that you've obtained the 9 sections mark in the forest assessment. However, I can't give you the mandate book. Ouyang Hong knew that Qin Hao had been stripped of his core disciple position. It was because of this that he ruthlessly slapped Ouyang Hua 3 times. His sworn brother was too inconsiderate. However, he still couldn't give the mandate book to Qin Hao. Qin Hao couldn't help but frown. Don't be anxious. Listen to me slowly. It's easy to enter the inner courtyard, but once you enter, luck and danger coexist. With your current cultivation base, other than being bullied, You won't be able to do anything. Ouyang Hua analyzed. Qin Hao's strength was still too low. In the inner courtyard, he would undoubtedly be at the bottom. Not to mention Qin Hao, even the current number one in the outer courtyard, Sword Saint Lin Feng, wouldn't be able to do anything. Once he entered the inner courtyard, he would inevitably become the target of the inner courtyard's disciples. Instead of running to the inner courtyard to suffer, he might as well slowly accumulate strength in the outer courtyard. The outer courtyard had Yuning Chang and Yao Lao supporting Qin Hao. However, who was in the inner courtyard? Half a month later, the Earth ranking will be re-ranked. After the ranking competition, the 4 great academies' new star competition will begin. At that time, the outer courtyard geniuses from Mad Dragon Academy, Star Moon Academy, and Shifu Academy will gather at Luotian platform. If you enter the top 10 of the new star competition, I'll give you a generous reward. A generous reward? How generous is it? Qin Hao happily accepted the palace feather, and his eyes lit up again. You'll know when the time comes. A month later, right? Keep your eyes open and see. I still have something to do, so I'll go chat with Yao Lao first. Qin Hao turned around and left. He knew that Ouyang Hong was deliberately trying to goad him, but at this moment, the pressure on him was multiplied. Defeating Lord Kongshan was indeed nothing to be happy about. In comparison, even the current number one in the outer court, Lin Feng, was not Wang Gui's opponent. Becoming stronger was a top priority. Old man, I'll send you off. Sigh, little guy who doesn't know Imperial Sky Technique. I'm looking forward to your performance in the Rising Star competition. Ouyang Hong nodded. Qin Hao's fighting spirit was successfully aroused. With a flick of his sleeve, a gust of wind swept Qin Hao up and landed in the outer court's medicine tower. A person who could catch Yao Lao's I should not disappoint. However, at this moment, Ouyang Hong's eyes were gloomy and uncertain, faintly showing anger. His sworn brother Ouyang Hua suppressed Qin Hao for Yuan Huai. It was understandable. However, why was Wang Dajuan obstructing him and fanning the flames everywhere? His intention to target Qin Hao was very obvious. Ouyang Hong faintly felt that Wang Dajuan had some ulterior motives. As a low-level elder of the outer court, Wang Dajuan was someone who had high standards but low abilities. He was someone who was not satisfied with half of the bottle. Although he was usually dissatisfied with his identity, he was still considered to know his place. Now, his actions were becoming more and more sinister. Could it be was he instructed by someone? Ouyang Hong temporarily threw away this speculation. There were more important things to do now. He quickly stood up from the stone. The brilliance on his body flashed and disappeared again. When he reappeared, he was already in an extremely remote and dark forest. In the forest, a figure was waiting for him. This figure was wearing a veil that covered her face. Her figure was graceful and graceful. Although he could not see her face clearly, he could guess that she was a middle-aged woman based on her figure. Greetings, my lord. Ouyang Hong bowed respectfully. The woman snorted lightly. Her back was facing Ouyang Hong. There was no joy in her voice, but it was very clear. Have you done the thing I asked you to do? It's done. I've investigated Qin Hao's identity. He comes from a weak family in the remote Jiang country. Moreover, I also came forward to beat up Hua Di and admitted Qin Hao's identity as a core disciple. Now, no one in the outer yard dares to provoke him. He can get whatever he wants. I even gave him the palace feather. Ouyang Hong hurriedly replied with a smile. He thought that the milord would be very satisfied this time. What did you say? The woman shouted. The moment she turned around, an aura mixed with anger rushed towards him. Her anger was so fierce that it made Ouyang Hong tremble. He did not receive a round of praise. Chapter 333. Businesses in Haifei Z. Qin Hao is now living with young master, and they seem to be sticking together every day. How can we make a move? Who dares to make a move? I'm still begging him to represent the academy and enter the New Star competition. Ever since you disappeared, we've been getting worse and worse. I say, Chief Dean, you don't have to hide anymore. We've already found the young lord. Hurry up and show yourself. Go intimidate those old fogies from 10 Directions Academy and Wild Dragon Academy. Let them see Grandma Osmanthus's methods. Those old bastards from the 10 Directions Academy are really useless, trying to take over our Medicine Valley. Damn their ancestors. If it wasn't for the fact that I can't beat them, I'd throw their president into a sack tonight, chop him up, and feed him to the dogs. Shut up. The woman interrupted Ouyang Hong and hurriedly looked around. Although she had already set up a barrier, she was still worried. After sensing that there was no one within a radius of 100 miles, he heaved a sigh of relief. Immediately, the anger in her heart surged. Her jade-like finger quickly pointed at Ouyang Hong's nose. Look at you. You usually look quite smart and capable. But at the critical moment, you drop the ball and talk a lot of nonsense. You even gave the palace jade to Qin Hao. Why don't you just die? Ouyang Hong's face was full of shame after being scolded. He felt wronged. Then, should we kill Qin Hao or keep him alive? Let him go for now. We'll talk about it after we win the Rising Star competition. When he's useless, we can just drown him in the gutter. For now, we'll help him as much as we can. At this point, the woman could only acquiesce to Ouyang Hong's actions. She had yet to reunite with Yi Shuihan. If she killed Qin Hao now, it would undoubtedly make it more difficult for her to reunite with her son. Her son might even turn against her and become her enemy. Qin Hao is quite capable. She won the favor of Yao Lao, acknowledged little Ing Chong as her sister, and even became Yi Shuihan's boss. At this moment, the woman couldn't help but admire Qin Hao. However, he shouldn't have become a spy for Da Qin, shouldn't have traveled thousands of miles from the East Continent to Western Liang, and shouldn't have made an enemy of his honor 600 years ago. Thinking to hear, the woman's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Qin Hao, his honor who is rumored to have died 600 years ago? His honor? It's truly fate. However, how could Scarlet Sun Academy's Qin Hao be compared to his honor? His honor opened up the great Qin Empire, swept through the 6 directions, and flattened the 8 desolates. Scarlet Sun Academy's Qin Hao was just a brat, a piece of trash. He waved his hand and told Ouyang Hong to scram. Ouyang Hong was also an uncivilized idiot. After there was no one around, the woman slowly took off the veil on her head, revealing a beautiful face. Among them, there were more than a dozen students from the Wild Dragon Academy and the 10 Directions Academy. The girl's shout just now was very loud, as if she wanted the whole world to see Qin Hao overestimating himself. So, these people all pointed at Qin Hao and roared with laughter. Ha ha! I was wondering who was causing trouble. So it's a rookie from Qiyang University. An ordinary disciple dares to court Miss Yao Chan. You two don't even look at yourselves. No wonder it's 2 men shopping together. They probably can't win the hearts of their juniors in their own academies. Useless guys like you are still pretending to be good in front of Miss Yao Chan. So they formed a group to be gay. Ha, it's so funny. Everyone pointed at Qin Hao and Yi Shuihan and laughed without restraint. Their words were full of mockery and ridicule. They also felt that it was unfair for the girl named Yao Chan felt relieved. The expression on her face became even more arrogant, and she even raised her nose. It was as if she was a beautiful swan, and Qin Hao was a toad born in the mud. A toad wants to hug a swan's leg? Dream on. This scene made Yi Shuihan furious. He was originally in a bad mood, but he was blackmailed by the lackeys at the door. Now, he couldn't bear it anymore. On the other hand, Qin Hao was foolishly looking at the broken jade hairpin on the ground. This jade hairpin was not an ordinary jade hairpin. It contained a little bit of cold essence, which was very helpful to those who cultivated ice arts. Even if it was not as good as the blue jade hairpin, it was still very precious. Moreover, its appearance was white and flawless. It also matched Wan Xin's temperament quite well. It would definitely look good on her. This was a gift for a friend that Qin Hao chose carefully. He had never been as serious as he was today, but it was smashed to pieces by the cheap maid in front of him. Creak! Clenching his fists together, Qin Hao slowly raised his head. His black hair fluttered without wind, and his eyes were so cold, revealing a chill. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.